Attention please. We would like to inform to all participants to rename your account to group underscore full name. For example, is AQ underscore Haider Jamaluddin. Mute your Zoom audio by clicking the icon speaker on your Zoom screen and use the provided virtual background on your Zoom. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The Excellency Mr. Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, the Coordinating Minister for Maritime and Investment Affairs of Indonesia, the Honorable Professor Dr. Widodo, Rector of Universitas Brawijaya, the Honorable Professor Dr. Maftu, the Dean of Fisheries and Marine Science Faculty, Universitas Brawijaya, and all of the participants.
Good morning. First of all, let's thank to God the Almighty who has been giving us mercy and blessing, so we can attend in this meeting without any trouble and obstacle in this happy place and time.
Secondly, my salawat and salam always be given to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has guided us from the darkness to the lightness, from the stupidity era to the cleverness era. Allow us to introduce ourselves. I'm Najwa.
I'm Ray, as Master of Ceremony. Welcome to the third International Conference on Fisheries and Marine Research with theme Integrated Fisheries Management and Technology to Achieve Blue Economy.
This international conference will be divided into 8 sections. The first section is opening.
The second section is listening the national anthem, Indonesia Raya.
The third section is photo section.
The fourth section is welcoming speech.
The fifth section is opening remarks.
The sixth section is plenary session.
The seventh session is discussion.
And the last section is closing. Well, the next agenda, which is listening the national anthem, Indonesia Raya. The IT team, please. Thank you.
The next agenda is photo session. We ask all of the participants to turn on the Zoom camera. On the count of 3, the admin will take a photo of the current screen. Okay, screen number 1. 1, 2, 3. Next screen. Screen 2. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Next. Screen 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
The next agenda is welcoming speech. The speech will be delivered by Chief of the Organizing Committee to Ms. Jenny Ernawati Tambunan. The screen is yours.
The Honorable Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon from Indonesia. The Honorable Coordinating Minister for Maritime and Investment Affairs, Jenderal TNI Purnawirawan Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, MPA. The Honorable Professor Widodo, PhD, Medical Science, Rector of Universitas Brawijaya. The Honorable Professor Dr. Maftu, Dean of Fisheries and Marine Science Faculty, Universitas Brawijaya. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the committee, I am pleased to welcome you to the third International Conference of Fisheries and Marine Research with the theme Integrated Fisheries Management and Technology to Achieve Blue Economy. This conference devoted to the current research and theory as well as future perspective and technology related to fisheries and marine science. We are broadly cover a wide range of topics related to aquaculture, capture fisheries, fisheries biotechnology, marine science, also fisheries and marine socio-economic. The organizing committee, in collaboration with the International Scientific Board, built up a stimulating scientific program. To end my speech, please allow me to wish you all the best for your successful deliberation in this conference. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Ms. Jenny Ernawati Tambunan for welcoming speech. The second welcoming speech will be delivered by Dean of Fisheries and Marine Science Faculty, Universitas Brawijaya. To Professor Maftu, the screen is yours.
The Honorable Coordinating Minister for Maritime and Investment Affairs, Jenderal TNI Purnawirawan Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, MPA, the Honorable Professor Widodo, PhD, MSc, Rector of Universitas Brawijaya, valuable participants and ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you to this virtual conference of the third International Conference of Fisheries and Marine Research with the theme Integrated Fisheries Management and Technology to Achieve Blue Economy. The International Conference of Fisheries and Marine Research is the annual forum which is held by the Fisheries and Marine Science Faculty, Universitas Brawijaya. This year is the third year this event has been held. ICoFMR is the forum to gather academicians and fisheries practitioners to share the activities and studies in aquaculture, capture fisheries, fisheries biotechnology, marine science, also fisheries and marine socio-economy. This online conference is held to create space for current results of scientific work in the field of fisheries and marine research to support blue economic goals. Let me finally wish you a successful virtual conference, and I'm glad to help the committee to deliver a successful such conference. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks to Professor Maftu for welcoming speech.
The next agenda is opening remarks by Coordinating Minister of Maritime and Investment Affairs of Indonesia. But before that, we apologize in advance because Mr. Luhut Binsar Panjaitan was unable to attend this international conference. There will be a video showing from Mr. Luhut Binsar Panjaitan. The IT team, please.
Yang saya hormati Rektor Universitas Brawijaya, Profesor Widodo, Dekan Fakultas Perikanan dan Ilmu Kelautan Universitas Brawijaya, Profesor Dr. Insinyur Maftuh, Bapak dan Ibu hadirin, saudara-saudara sebangsa dan setanah air yang saya cintai dan saya banggakan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Indonesia merupakan negara kepulauan terbesar di dunia dan perairan Nusantara menjadi satu-satunya lautan di kawasan ekuator yang menghubungkan Samudra Pasifik dan Samudra India. Sebagai negara maritim, ada dua hal yang tidak dapat dipisahkan. Pertama, sekitar 75% wilayah kita ditutupi oleh air laut. Dan kedua, memiliki 17.500 pulau dengan garis pantai 108.000 km. Dengan segala berkah tersebut, Indonesia merupakan pemegang mega biodiversity laut dan tidak diragukan lagi memiliki kapasitas ekonomi maritim yang sangat besar. Perairan kita yang membentang sekitar 6,4 juta kilometer persegi menyediakan tempat peminjahan keanekaragaman hayati laut. Selain kawasan segitiga terumbu karang dunia yang memiliki 362 jenis karang batu. Dengan mempertimbangkan mangrove dan lamun, Indonesia memainkan peran penting dalam kaitannya dengan penyerapan karbon. Potensi karbon biru di Indonesia mencapai 3,4 gigaton atau sekitar 17% dari karbon biru dunia. Lebih jauh lagi, karena Indonesia terletak di antara dua samudera dan dua benua, hal ini meningkatkan posisi tawar Indonesia baik secara geografis maupun geopolitik. Oleh karena itu, hal ini sejalan dengan visi Presiden Indonesia sebagai poros maritim dunia. Hadirin sekalian yang saya hormati, berdasarkan Sustainable Development Goals 2021 report, lebih dari 3 miliar orang sangat bergantung pada laut sebagai mata pencarian mereka dan lebih dari 80% perdagangan dunia dilakukan oleh laut. Akibatnya sektor kelautan menjadi salah satu upaya untuk pengentasan kemiskinan, pertumbuhan ekonomi yang berkelanjutan, dan ketahanan pangan. Namun manfaat yang disediakan laut semakin dirusak oleh aktivitas antropogenik, yaitu meningkatnya emisi CO2 yang menyebabkan pemanasan laut, pengasaman, deoksigenisasi yang mengancam ekosistem laut serta manusia yang terkait dengannya. Penangkapan ikan yang berkelebihan, di mana sepertiga diantaranya sudah dieksploitasi secara berlebihan, dan polutan berbasis lahan berdampak buruk terhadap habitat dan masyarakat pesisir. Perubahan ini memiliki dampak jangka panjang yang memerlukan peningkatan perlindungan lingkungan laut, investasi dalam ilmu dan teknologi kelautan, dukungan untuk komunitas nelayan skala kecil, serta pengelolaan laut yang berkelanjutan. Mengingat besarnya manfaat yang diberikan laut harus mendapatkan perhatian lebih besar dari semua entitas terkait, yaitu pemerintah, masyarakat pesisir, LSM, dan pemangku kepentingan terkait lainnya. Hadirin sekalian yang saya hormati, isu konservasi telah menjadi perhatian global dan isu strategis di banyak negara. Indonesia harus mampu mengelola sumber daya kelautan dan perikanan secara efektif dan berkelanjutan untuk kemakmuran rakyatnya. Presiden Joko Widodo telah menegaskan kembali komitmen Indonesia untuk melestarikan hingga 32,5 juta hektar wilayah laut nasional pada tahun 2030. Saat ini Indonesia memiliki 28,4 juta hektar wilayah laut yang dilindungi atau marine protected area. Oleh karena itu, untuk dapat mencapai target nasional, jelas dibutuhkan kerja kolektif. Dan ini sangat kita butuhkan di negeri ini. Langkah kita hari ini sudah semakin serentak. Laju kita sudah semakin cepat. Namun kita belum sampai di garis akhir. Maka tidak ada alasan tidak berhenti bergerak. Meski sejenak, ke depan masih akan ada angin yang kencang dan ombak yang jauh lebih besar, serta rintangan yang jauh lebih tinggi. Kita harus terus memegang komando, memimpin pemulihan bersama, bergerak untuk mencapai blue economy. Hadirin sekalian yang saya hormati, sebagai Presiden G20 pada tahun 2022 ini, Indonesia akan memprakarsai Ocean 20. Ocean 20 akan berfokus pada ekologi laut dan ekonomi laut, Kami berharap di bawah presidensi G20 India berikutnya, Ocean bisa menjadi work stream baru pada agenda G20. Bersama dengan hal ini, saya ingin mengundang hadirin sekalian untuk bergabung dengan acara Ocean 20 pada 13-14 November di Nusa Dua, Bali. Untuk mewujudkan aksi nyata dan kolaborasi untuk kelautan kita yang sehat dan berkelanjutan sekarang dan di masa yang akan datang. Saya juga ingin menyampaikan selamat pada Fakultas Perikanan dan Ilmu Kelautan Universitas Brawijaya yang telah mengadakan the Third International Conference of Fisheries and Marine Research. Dan saya berharap supaya kita semua berkolaborasi, semua kompak untuk bekerja, untuk membuat yang terbaik buat negeri kita yang tercinta ini. Kalau kita satu, apapun tantangan kita hadapi, insya Allah kita akan bisa mengatasi dengan baik. Sekali lagi, selamat berkonferensi, dan saya berharap hasil konferensi ini dapat yang diimplementasikan di dalam kehidupan kita ke depan. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks to Mr. Luhut Binsar Panjaitan for opening remarks. Well, before we get started, there will be playing video profile of Universitas Brawijaya. The IT team, please.
Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science originate from the Marine Fisheries College, founded on October 28, 1962 by the Probolinggo Education Foundation. October 28 became the anniversary celebration of Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science. Through the Ministerial Decree number 163, year 1963, Marine Fishery College joined us Department in Faculty of Veterinary Medicine and Animal Husbandry Universitas Brawijaya, based in Malang. In 1982, the Faculty of Animal Husbandry and Fisheries was separated into two faculties, Faculty of Animal Husbandry and Faculty of Fisheries. To produce professional graduates that can applying the principle of exploration, exploitation, and management in fishery and marine resource, the Faculty of Fisheries has changed to the Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science based on the degree of Rector number 041/SK/2008. Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science has a vision to become a superior higher education institution with international standard by applying fisheries and marine entrepreneurial strategy and be able to play an active role in the nation development through the process of aligning education, research, and community service.
Welcome to the Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science, Universitas Brawijaya. As a higher education institution, we have implemented an international standard learning system, which is equipped with various adequate facilities and infrastructure. We also have implemented a curriculum of Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka that encourages students for being lead generation and contribute to current development. We produce various innovations that support industry and community welfare, especially in the fisheries and marine sectors. In addition, various national and international collaborations have been established and continue to be developed so that we are able to play a role as a part of world civilization.
Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science consists of 3 departments. Total number of study programs is 10 study programs. Study Program of Fisheries Resource Utilization is a study program that provides education and learning about fisheries biology, fishery technology, and sustainability in fisheries management. Study Program of Fisheries Agribusiness and PSDKU Socioeconomic Fisheries have three main competencies are business and trade, fisheries social, and economics of fishery resource management. Study program of aquaculture and PSDKU aquaculture have focus of study are fish reproduction, fish farming production, fish nutrition, and fish health and disease. Study program of marine science offered four main competencies. There are oceanography, marine resource exploration, marine biotechnology, and conservation of coastal and marine resources and ecosystems. Study program of fisheries product technology has a mission to become an excellent study program at the international level in the field of education, research, and community service, and become scientific and entrepreneurial information center, especially of fish commodities tuna, crustacean, and seaweed. Study program of aquatic resource management has three kinds of study centers, namely environmental science water, coastal and marine resource management, and biotechnology aquatic resources. Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science has two study programs located in Kediri. Outside the main campus, called PSDKU, there are PSDKU Aquaculture, PSDKU Socio-Economic Fisheries. We have two postgraduate programs, Master Program of Aquaculture and Doctoral Program of Fisheries Science and Marine. Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science also involved in several research and scientific collaboration with various national and international institutions, such as Asian Fel Network, Indonesia-Japan Joint Scientific Symposium, and many more. All of study programs in the Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science have been accredited by Board of National Accreditation for Higher Education, and one of it, Aquaculture Study Program, already received Asian University Network Quality Assurance Standard, or AUN-QA. Here is various infrastructure and facilities supporting students' life, such as classroom, laboratories, hall, library, student activity room, cafeteria, healthcare, sport area, and prayers room. Students at the Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science will enjoy numerous activities to enrich their experience outside classroom, for example, mangrove planting, release marine biota, simulating a shift driving, drone operating, internship program, and multicultural interaction with other students across countries. Many research groups at the Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science, resulting in intellectual property rights productively. The alumni already recognized both at national and international level, proven the vision of the faculty to produce students with the best academic capability, international standard, and good personality. Students of the Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science achieving a lot of awards, both in academic and non-academic competition. In the last 5 years, the average scientific competition won by our student is more than 90 competition per year. There are student organizations for skill and talent development, such as sport, choir, diving skills, which have achievements at the national level. Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science has a unique program, namely FDS or Fisheries Diving School. Founded in 2017, the program continuously creates a license skill for the graduates, especially for open water and dry scuba.
Fakultas Perikanan dan Ilmu Kelautan Universitas Brawijaya santun berprestasi.
Thank you. So that the video profile of Fisheries and Marine Science Faculty Universitas Brawijaya. Well, now we will introduce the keynote speakers and invited speakers. The first keynote speaker is Dr. Mark Verdegem for aquaculture topic from Wageningen University, the Netherlands. Second keynote speaker is Professor Dan De Silva for Fishery Agribusiness topic from Sabaragamua University, Sri Lanka. Third keynote speaker is Professor Rejugba from Fishery Product Technology topic from Estonian University of Life Sciences, Estonia. And first invited speaker is Dr. Nur Azman Kasan for aquaculture topic from University Malaysia, Terengganu, Malaysia.
We reminder again to all participants to rename your account to group_full name. Mute your Zoom audio by clicking the icon speaker on your Zoom screen and use the provided virtual background on your Zoom. After the presentation, there will be a discussion session for participants who want to ask questions. Participants are welcome to ask questions and send questions in the chat column with that format that has been made. The first session will be guided by Dr. Dewa Gede Rakawiyatnya. To Dr. Dewa Gede Rakawiyatnya, the screen is yours.
Before I start, I would like to ask the committee, do my voice clear enough? Okay. Good afternoon, all the participants. I've seen already here Dr. Mark. Before we start the first presentation on keynote speaker from Dr. Mark, I would like to just read a short bio from him. Dr. Mark C. G. Verdehem is an associate professor in aquaculture and fisheries, Department of Animal Science, Wageningen University Research. His research interests were in aquaculture, aquatic ecology, biotechnology, and water quality. Currently, he is running a project on pond aquaculture and ecological intensification of aquaculture. He got his PhD from Department of Maritime University of Puerto Rico and his MSc on biology and zoology from Ghent University in Belgium. Of course, we read already two of most recent publication of him. The first is about the effect of enzyme probiotics and their combination on growth performance of nutrient utilization in tilapia. This was published in Aquaculture. And the second publication was on in situ fatty acid production that support trim yield in diet lacking fish, oil, and fish meal, also published in Aquaculture. In this first presentation, Dr. Mark will deliver a presentation speech on vision on a sustainable future of aquaculture. Herewith, I would like to invite Dr. Mark, who is already here. Time is you now. You have plenty of time to start. Thank you. Please.
Hello to everybody. Thank you, Gede, for introducing me. I will share my screen. And organize it a little bit. Okay, now you see my screen. My name is Mark Verdegem. I'm from Wageningen University. And today I like to talk with you about my vision on a sustainable future for aquaculture. Now, aquaculture has grown very fast during the last decades. According to FAO databases, in 2020, the total production of animals through aquaculture was 87 million metric tons. And there was also plant production, which would add an additional 29% to the global production of aquaculture. But when we look at animal production through aquaculture, then we see that we have non-fed aquaculture. And when it comes to animals, this is mainly mollusks and fish, and they represent about 25 million metric ton. And then there is fed aquaculture, and these are mainly fish and crustaceans, and they represent 62 million metric ton. And today I like to focus my presentation on fed aquaculture, because the feed that we use in aquaculture is actually the component that has the largest impact on the environment of aquaculture. Now, in my title, I also talk about sustainable future. So it means that sustainable aquaculture. And sometimes I have the impression that we forget why we talk about sustainable aquaculture. And we all know that the biosphere is a thin layer of about 20 kilometers on top of our planet Earth. And we humans have been very successful on Earth. And at this moment, we humans represent 40% of the total biomass of mammals on this planet. And our livestock for meat production adds another 56%. So it means that all the other wild mammals, including whales and elephants, only make up 4% of the wild mammals, of the total mammals on this planet. And
Dr.
we
Mark,
humans, yes?
would you like to change your presentation into slideshow? I think it is better to have it in slideshow. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Mark, would you like to have your presentation in slideshow? Thank you.
Yes, I'm looking at how to do it. You have it now in slideshow?
No, still start this.
Let me see. So I will try to share again. Um, do you see it now in slideshow?
Not yet.
Let me see swap.
Might be in the bottom. You can.
Do you now see it in slideshow?
No.
Strange.
I think I would can it doesn't work for me. You can use also the slideshow on the upper left up.
Let me try again.
Don't worry, Mark. We have plenty of time.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to know that. Let me see. So now you see my screen with the
Yes.
presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
We need to have it in slideshow if you wish,
Yeah.
or if you can do that. If not, it's just like this. It is okay also. Or the committee can help also to put it in slideshow.
Yes, I think that the committee needs to do it because I have two screens, and
Okay.
apparently they swap, and when I try to get it on the right screen, it goes out. So there's something wrong with my setup. So yes, switch to the committee. I will stop sharing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is work now. Mark, do you see it?
Yes. Do you want me to start from the beginning again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just continue. When you want us to change to the next slide, you can just tell us.
Yeah. Next, please. Yeah. So we humans make a big impact on the biosphere, and actually we changing the biosphere, and we trespassing at boundaries. And when we talk about sustainable aquaculture, actually we like to maintain a stable and resilient biosphere for future generations. And that is not easy. Next, please. Yeah, that's not easy because there are many processes and complex interactions in the biosphere. And to guide us, some people defined planetary boundaries. Next slide, please. And this is the most recent picture of the planetary boundaries from 2022. And so there is climate change, there is biosphere integrity, land system change, novel ingredients, which relates to all the chemicals that we put in the biosphere, and nitrogen and phosphorus use, and water use. And these are the aspects, the boundaries that we define and that we actually trespass. And now when I talk about aquaculture, how does my activity in aquaculture contributes to passing, maintaining, and restoring safe planetary boundaries is, in my opinion, the question that we all should ask about when we work in aquaculture. And when we ask these questions and we look at the different planetary boundaries, then we will often find contradicting results of our research. On some aspects, for instance, on climate change, we will make improvement, but by doing and what the changes that we make, we will make losses on other ones. And I think that is okay, but when we do research, at least one of the topics that one of the planetary boundaries, we should make progress. And then when we don't do that, I think we don't work in sustainable aquaculture. Next, please. So there are two visions. One vision is producing within carrying capacity of the aquatic ecosystem. There are extractive species like mollusk. I talk about animals, but plants, seaweed are also there. And there is extensive and semi-intensive pond aquaculture that also has the capacity to produce within carrying capacity. On the other side, there are people that believe that technology will save the world. And for aquaculture, the example we have is recirculating aquaculture that can be indoors and can be technological, very high tech and very intensive, but it can also be outdoors, even with pond systems and applying low technologies like stabilization ponds or artificial swamp technology that we implement. Next, please. And when it comes to aquaculture, the extensive and semi-intensive pond aquaculture and the closed systems, these are all systems that today depend on pelleted feed. Next slide, please. One of the things is when we really want to improve the sustainability of aquaculture, then producing more fish using less feed, or in other words, improving the nutrient use efficiency of our system, that is said by many researchers one of the largest improvements in environmental performance of aquaculture. If we are able to do that, we really improve the performance, the environmental performance of aquaculture. And if we want to do that, actually we depend on recycling. Next, please. And there are different options to recycle. One is in situ natural food production in ponds, that through the food web in the pond, we recycle ingredients that we feed to our aquaculture system. Or we put waste ingredients that we collect directly in the fish feed. Or we transform the aquaculture waste in nutrient and energy sources for crop, livestock, and human use. So we link to other sectors of the food production sector. Next slide, please. Now, when it comes to aquaculture, and we need to ask ourselves the question that what is an aquatic ecosystem looking? So an aquatic aquaculture ecosystem looking. And we all know the pictures of first, second, third, fourth trophic level. And at each step in the trophic level, we lose 90% of the energy in the system. We know that. And we have primary producers, that's the first trophic level. And then we have first level consumers, primary, secondary, tertiary consumers that we have in the system. And when it comes to pond aquaculture, next slide, next, please. When it comes to aquaculture, actually what we do in aquaculture is we try to steer the nutrient flow in the system towards our culture organisms, which mostly is fish or shrimp. And in doing so, we are directing the energy in the direction of primary consumers. And actually, if we look at the biomass in the system, it's not gradually decreasing, but it's more something, next slide, please. It's more something like this. So the main biomass in the system or the animals, the main biomass is not the plant in the system. And that's typical for aquaculture systems. I try to make my more clear. Next slide, please. So this is a small experiment in aquaculture where we grow shrimp. In the picture, you have a food web. The green is the algae-driven production, and the orange is the feed-driven food web in the system. And together, they contribute to production in the system. However, when we harvest our tank, and we have on a hectare basis, we produce about 4,000 kilograms of shrimp per hectare. Then we see that in the system, the orange bar, that is the shrimp protein, which is a proxy for shrimp biomass. And then we had biofloc in our system because it was a small biofloc. And then we have periphyton. And actually, this is the biomass, the biomass in the system. So 54% of the biomass in the system is our culture animal. And 43 is the biofloc and some other elements. And next slide, yes. So what I said about the biomass is actually not strong enough. And next slide, please. And so actually our aquaculture biomass is the biggest biomass in the system. And when we deal with aquaculture and we want to improve the ecosystem, then we can deal with the culture animal and we can deal with the microorganisms in the system. When it comes to other organisms in the system, they are marginally important in our system. Next slide. So when it comes to pond aquaculture, we can go from very simple, only stocking and 200 kilograms per hectare to stocking plus feeding plus continuous aeration, water mixing. We can go up to 100,000 kilograms per hectare. But next, one thing in this slide is that we need to consider the soil properties of our pond, because the soil property determines the pond fertility. And a pond in Java will be much more productive than a pond in Kalimantan. And it also above 4,000 to 6,000 kilograms per hectare, metabolites start to accumulate during culture. Next. And when metabolites accumulate so much in the system that the life of our culture animals becomes difficult, so we exchange water, then I say that we are trespassing the carrying capacity of the aquaculture system. So the animal concentration in our system is high, but we should try to maintain our water quality based on the natural processes in the pond during culture. And then after culture, we can restore our culture environment and we can start again. Next slide, please. So next, yeah. Our water bodies in which we grow fish actually trap nutrients in nature. Leaves are falling in, runoff from the land, so nutrients come in. And on the basis of that, algae are produced, detritus is produced, and with the detritus, bacteria and lignin and fungi and bacteria are produced. What we often forget is that ecologists know that when you feed algae, so for instance, I feed 100 gram algae, 100 gram bacteria coming from detritus, and 100 gram fungi and bacteria coming from lignin and cellulose, for instance, then the production of fish will be highly different. So the 95% will be at algae, 3% will be bacteria, and then fungi, bacteria will be 2%. So when we manage an aquaculture system in an extensive pond, we actually need to manage the algae-driven food web because that is what produces food. And when we go to a semi-intensive fed pond, we throw food in the system, but when with stable isotope we analyze where is the production come from, then nearly in all cases we find that 50 to 60% is based on the algae-driven food web of our production. And in pond raceways or partition systems or split ponds or in-pond RAS, we increase the algae production in the system by a factor 2 to 3. And in doing so, we also increase the production capacity of our system. Next, please. And so at the carrying capacity of our semi-intensive fed pond, we can maintain at 4 to 6 metric ton per hectare. But if we do 2 cycles per year, we still can produce 12 metric ton per hectare. And if we have these other systems, we can go to 15, 20 metric ton per hectare. So we have room to produce. Yeah. Next. We need to think about the carbohydrate input in our system. So in a pond feed, there is energy for the fish, but we don't put enough energy in the feed for the food web. And next, yeah. And so what I started to do is look at energy, starches, the carbohydrates, what that does in the system. And when I throw starch in a pond, then when I throw it through the feed, then the fish will digest the carbohydrate and it will become mainly CO2. And when I throw it directly in the pond, the bacteria will, within minutes, hours, they will digest it and also produce CO2. However, when I throw in fiber, in a difficult word, non-starch polysaccharides in the system, they are not digestible by fish. And so it means when I put a lot of fiber in the diet, I will get a feces from the fish with a lot of carbohydrate or energy in the feces, and that will enter through the feces in the pond, and that is digestible to the food web in the pond. So I have energy for my food web. Next slide, please. And so pond nutrient experiment, I increase the NSP content in the diet, and I do that by taking out protein in the diet and replacing it with NSP. Next, please. So I do an experiment. Next, yeah, and so I have 2 diets. So one diet is a low NSP diet with a lot of protein in the diet. So that I call the low NSP diet on the left in the figure. And the other one is where I put more NSP and low protein in the diet. That is on the right in the figure. And I have 2 stocking density. SD2 is 2 fish per square meter and SD3 is 3 Nile tilapia per square meter. And then these are farmer ponds, no water exchange. Next, please. Next. So the outread parameter on the y-axis is fish nitrogen, but that's a proxy of fish growth. And when I look at the results, first is I can look at the black bars. That is the growth the fish realizes by eating the feed directly. And so we see when there is a lot of protein in the diet, so the production is higher with 2 fish per square meter, and with 3 fish per square meter, we see that. But when it comes to the food web-based production, that is the light color bars, then we see that where there is enough energy for the food web in the system, we get more natural production and we get more production in our system. Next. So actually the NSP diet improved the nutrient use efficiency at pond level, And actually the farmer with a lower quality feed makes a higher production in his system. So the research outcomes are careful selection of the type of carbon and energy used in the pond improves the nutrient use efficiency in fish and pond. And when we do that with the high NSP diet, we did various experiments. We see that 75 to 90% of the nitrogen that we put in the system through the diet is recuperated in this way. And working in that way, playing with the energy in the diet, that we call the nutritious pond concept. Yes, next please. So next. When we talk about the nutritious pond concept, we can make our conditions more stringent. One is when we recycle the nutrients, not only the nutrients in the feed, but we also need to take care that there is no food-feed competition. So when there is a waste that can be directly integrated in the human food system, then we should not feed it to animals. And the next one is that we need to produce feed ingredients and feed waste in the same location. Because now with our feed systems we have in the world, we produce the crops to put in the feed in one area in the world, and we feed the animals in another area in the world, and we constantly create disbalances in nutrient storage in the world. So we should try to avoid that. Next. So when it comes to the future of aquaculture production, at semi-intensive ponds, and also using algae-based intensified pond systems like partitioned aquaculture systems, in-pond raceways or split ponds, we can go to higher production. Next. And so I say feed the pond, and I invite people to do more research on trying to fine-tune the nutritious pond concept, in where we recycle nutrients through the agri-aqua food system, and we take into consideration no food-feed competition. And when we do that, aquaculture might become the main source of animal food in the future. Next. We can also go for highly intensive aquaculture, especially in areas where we have urbanization and big population centers like Shanghai or Bangkok or Ho Chi Minh City, Jakarta. So it's very difficult to get enough food to these big centers by working in low intensity systems. So we can develop these systems, but we have a long way to go to no fossil energy use in these systems. And we need to have work clean and control the wastes and turn them into nutrient sources, so zero pollution, and recycle waste through the feed and no food-feed competition. Next, please. And that maybe there is limited scope. And next. So what we also should think of is that maybe in some areas we need to prioritize alternative sources of protein by growing them directly based on algae, bacteria, or fungi. Next, please. Now, thinking about sustainable aquaculture, I think we need to change our food systems, which is different from improving. So we really need to think, how can we make our systems better? We need to broaden our context, always think what I do, what does it with the biosphere and the planetary boundaries and the sustainable development goals. And that we also should search for new ideas and inform us. I give 3 books there that are quite recently. Like some people say we should start living again like 200 years ago when we were using less energy. Others think that we should reduce our food systems and do more with less, or we can regenerate our food systems. But none of these books has the total solution. So we need to think and be open and communicate and develop cooperative research programs that we can improve on the planetary boundaries. And with that, I give the word back to Gede. Thank you. So I'm finished. Yeah. So I don't know if there will be questions now, but or maybe at the next speaker first.
According to the committee, we should proceed into the second presentation first, then we have a plenary discussion after that. So would you like to wait for the second presentation, Mark? Yeah. The second presentation would be delivered by Professor Assini da Silva. CS from Department of Agribusiness Management, Faculty of Agriculture Science, Sabaragamuwa, University of Sri Lanka. Her research interests were value chain analysis of development of agriculture food industry, gender economics and gender in value chain, agriculture marketing and innovation management. She currently run 2 main projects in Thailand, value chain project and people and process to value chain. Professor Assini and da Silva got her PhD from Fisheries, Economics and Trade, Graduate School of Biostate Science, Hiroshima University. I noticed already Professor Makrisi already participate in this meeting also. Her MSc Agribusiness got in Agribusiness Management from University of Paradenia, Sri Lanka, and Stirling University, UK. She has published so many articles. Currently, she just published a clean CS dirty label in 2021. Dear all of the participants, unfortunately, unlucky that Professor Assini and da Silva will not able to present her presentation directly, but there will be a video soon will be available. So I would like to ask committee to just run the video. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome you all to this session, and let me congratulate the organizers to organizing wonderful event, especially for fish and seafood and fisheries and marine research. Of course, research is the lifeblood of any industry, so their role is very much important. So thank you very much. Indeed, it's great pleasure for me to join with this session and share my experiences with you all. And of course, the topic that they have assigned for me, it's like more with the agribusiness and discuss about the fish business. So I prefer the agribusiness into fish business. So thank you so much for being invited for this session. Right. Let me move with this, the line with fish and seafood value chains and businesses, the people involved in, and of course, the experiences of researchers, the policymakers are very much important to shape the industry in the future. So move with that, the fish business. This is my focus. Bit kind of a funny term, you feel it, but I thought of like why agriculture can be into the agri business and fish, of course, can be into the fish business. So the kind of underlying theme of today's the talk, it's about to understand the fish and seafood value chains, especially in our region, and through the competitive advantage. The term itself, the competitive advantage, the Michael Porter brings his competitive advantage theory and introduced the concept of value chain, initially for manufacturing. Now it applies more with fisheries, more with agriculture. Why we are competitive? How can we compete with the competitors, the rest in the industry? That is very much important. And in especially fisheries, it's so diverse in terms of the people who are involved in the oceans, rivers, lakes, the resource base, and the fishes are there, and different crustaceans. The resource base is so diverse. And again, other than the people and resource base, lots of traditions, the cultures. I mean, in millions of years, people, they do fish for their food, and that changed into an industry. Now it's more modern, high-tech industry. So we are trying to look at the people who involved this and why it is important for us. So the key concerns of my talk today, more with the income, because it's business, why the people do business, they are more profit-oriented, need to earn the income, need to earn the profits. Why? That is for the betterment of the people who involved in the industry, and then how they share the income. And the working conditions, that is very much important, and especially in the modern human resource management, it's not just like traditional or the artisanal fisheries. The modern human resource management in any industry, think about the working conditions, their rights, and ethical, the business, that is important. And of course, gender, why it is important. Let's say in fisheries, the many people say that is more the male dominant, more masculine industry, but you all know, and my experience across the globe, I know that the females, their hands are very much important. Female hands strengthen this industry through the various roles. Not just they are in part of the fishery, they are part of the business, part of the fishing work. They do feed the children, they do feed the family, they do educate, bring the traditions, especially the fisheries culture from generation to generation. So they are all, the involvement in fish and seafood value chains are very much important, even though these things are not recognized, not paid, not counted as the paid employment, but their role is very much important. So we all need to understand, we all need to do more research on it. Other than that, we need to talk about the social protection and especially the governance, who has power to govern the value chains, and think about the very short, the locally oriented value chains, and more in the export oriented value chains, who has power, who is making decisions, and how these decisions affect on the people who are involved in the chain. And of course, with this all, the policy, the legal framework, the context is very important. How policy, legal framework facilitate. So it's more holistic approach to understand the fish business, the environment, the people involved in, and what relationships are there. So we are trying to understand this through some of the previous experiences of mine. Right. With that, let's move on to the fish business today. Because it's my term is fish business, I'm going to talk about why this is important. So being in fishing nation and especially the region, so the figure shows the positive increasing trend of revenue generated from fish and seafood industry. And in the latest, the 2021, you can say this brown color one, the highest revenue generated. So that is the plus point. Industry still is living and it's earning revenue, which is more satisfied to the people involved. And volumes produced, again with this trend, shows the positive increasing trend. So being the people involved in the industry and being the researchers, being the lecturers or the academics involved in this field, we are happy because industry is such healthy and in moving more in a positive way. But we should not forget about this. This is fishery common pool resource that belongs to everybody. There is no, it's very hard to put the lines or the boundaries in seas, oceans, and rivers. That belongs to the people, that belongs to the communities. With this, lots of free rider problems, lots of the people involved, and it's kind of putting the pressure on the resource base. Lots of regulatory barriers comes into that to manage the resource. But the day will come, we need to think about, so the optimum level. After that, there is no profit, there is no revenue generated, industry is going to die. That depends on the natural resources. That's what we need to understand, this balance. Yes, we are in the business, we are earning healthy returns now, but what will be the future? For the future fish business, we need to think in a different way. So again, this one to show the positive thing, the price per unit. And again, with the time, you can see the positive increase in trend price per the unit. So for the people who are involved in industry, we are happy. And in the next, the other side of this figure, that is a bit different. It's about marketing channel. You may think about why this one from the unit price to marketing channels. That is again, the marketing channels. We need to make sure the traditional, very primary industry where they are now. So if you consider this figure, you will find it. They are not very traditional, they are not primitive industry. They move from the traditional industry to more the modern one. That's what their presence, the marketing channels, more involved with online business rather than the offline. So maybe the trend, the kind of a trend has kind of an influence on COVID because the trend start from 2019 to 2021. But of course, maybe COVID make some push, that's true. But it's not because of COVID, not because of the economic crisis or the downturn, but people involved, value chain members, they thought of all other value chains, all other businesses moving towards with high-tech, more modern technology, and especially the marketing channels with more digital tools. Why not us? So they thought of like apply digital tools, more artificially intelligent assisted digital tools to do the fish business. Because fisheries, fish and seafood value chains, not there within the domestic or the terrorist within the country's purview. They're moving beyond the national boundaries, moving beyond the regional boundaries. That is more global business, so need more global presence. For that, need to apply the technology. So let's move on to that. Our situation, we being kind of Asian fishing nations, we are the kind of the giants in global fish and seafood business. Top 5 the players in global fish and seafood business, they are Asian. So for that, one thing we can happy, we are in the business, we are generating revenue, we are the top global players, but need to remember that the day will come, we need to rethink, we have to modify the mix. We will find there is no fish, there is no way to culture them. So how can we survive within this industry? Because overnight, we cannot forget about this industry. Millions of people involved in. So how can we find jobs for them? So that's what sustainable fish business is essential. So this condition, we are playing great. I mean, our status is great in global arena, but we need to think about how can we change the direction towards to the future markets, future customers. With this, I'm going to move into the average kind of a value chain. You feel it, this is not a lecture, but anyway, need to understand the value chain. Who are the people there? The value chain starts from the inputs and in the kind of fishermen, fisherwomen who involved in fishing and culture fish, and then the primary processes, secondary processes, and then lots of the downstream of the value chain engaged with lots of wholesalers, retailers, auctioneers, brings the products, brings the fish into the market. They are kind of different groups of the people operating in different scale, different locations, different facilities are there, but they all involved to bring the fish, bring the food into the market. So their location, their facilities, resources, as well as their experience, knowledge, everything is very much important to bring this into the market. So being kind of a primitive, the primary industry, and bring it to the more modern consumer demands, or bridge this gap from the fresh fish into the more convenient fish meal. So lots of technology involved in, lots of people involved. So we need to understand their roles and the context they operate, and in the same time, do they receive benefits? So why benefits are important? Say everybody involved in this business need to make sure they are receiving healthy returns. So otherwise, they will simply give it up the industry, moving from fish business to the another, moving from fisheries to another one. So we all experience this one. Small scale fishermen, the majority, about 90%, they are small scale fishermen. So, but they are moving to the other industries because their returns, their income generated, it's not healthy enough to survive. And in contrast, the commercial fisheries or the export-oriented fisheries, yes, that is operating as a business and they're receiving healthy returns. So for that, they are staying. So we need to make this balance. For that, we need to understand the working conditions, the rights, how can we improve their working conditions, how can we attract the young people to the industry, and again, to make sure to understand the consumers, what they need, what kind of the quality, the taste, the kind of a meal, maybe like ready to cook fresh fish to they are now ready to eat types, more ultra processed things, lots of different things. For that all, if you are in a business, we need to understand value chain. We need to understand the functions, the different relationships, how this value flow from fisherman to the consumer, what helps it, and what kind of other things. So to say that primary industry, the fisheries, fish and seafood moves to the value chains. And is it a one single industry? No, it's not one single industry. Lots of other industries help to function it, facilitate to function it. They are kind of part of the fish and seafood value chains. I just want to show this figure. This is kind of an average or kind of a generalized value chain model. It's in our context. So in the Michael Porter's value chain, back to the theory, explain value chain composed of two parts, the primary activities and the secondary activities, the services. So the primary activities are the key people who involved in the value chain. And in again, the same fish and seafood value chain starts from input suppliers to ended up with consumers. So this main value chain thing, you will understand they are key people. But these key people to operate, there should be a background. So the background who is provided, lots of other service providers. Especially the upstream input supplies starts from fishing gear, the fishing nets, and then again, the lots of infrastructure requirements, harbors, landing sites, and everything. And again, the institutions, those who provide legal policy background, the research institutions, they are involving in research, developing the fishing gear, the boats, and other requirements. So they all belong to different subsectors, different industries, but they all jointly help the fish and seafood value chains to function, moving smoothly, bring the products to the consumers. And when it comes to our context, the research, it's not within one region, not within one country. Globally, the fisheries researchers involved in research, trying to find solutions, trying to find strategic interventions to the value chains to operate more smoothly. So their role is important. They are in different places, but they trying to make the value chain smoothly. So again, in like the people who design, develop the boats, the fishing vessels, this is different, huge industry globally. So they help. Without them, we cannot operate. Without them, we cannot move it. And now they are especially with the climate change and the energy crisis very recently, now they are moving more with the alternative energy sources, moving more with environmental friendly, the fishing vessels and fish processing technology. So everything, different industries. If you take a minute and think about how many industries involved in and how many industries link into the fish and seafood value chain. So how their services involved in and why these services are very important. Without these services, we cannot operate, we cannot function the value chain. So that is not simply the primitive or the very primary fisheries value chain or the industry that we had in generations before. Now everybody link. So the artificial intelligence assisted the boats, fishing gear, let's say find the fish stocks where they are and in the caught the fish and in process everything technology applies, where the lots of engineering knowledge is applied to them. So everything you will understand. If you are moving from fisheries into fish business through the value chain approach, we need to think how can we move, what resources we needed, and how can we change the environment. That is very much important. And from that point, we will move on to the tomorrow, the future of this fish business. That is very much important to understand. Being in this industry, being a researcher, and especially in this conference, the university is trying to bridge these gaps of knowledge. And again, this one, maybe lots of people involved in this research, but they show the new direction, new avenue to the fish business. So this is dumplings made with cell-cultured shrimp. Huge global demand on shrimp, but resources are limited. How can we feed this huge global demand? The people, they need, people in the sense, we are consumers, they need fish to eat, they need shrimp to eat, but we have limited resources. What research is it? Companies, they invest on this new world, a new research, find it the way to cater this demand. And next, it's again another development, the plant-based seafood. Still, people feel we need to eat meat, but more people, they are moving from the meat-based or the fish-based diets to the vegan one. High demand on vegetarian or the vegan food. So how can we make like fish like vegan meat? So researchers, they did research, they invest the companies on it. They could able to come up with the plant-based protein, but it's like mimic the taste, the texture, appearance. It's almost the fish. Consumers, they never feel, especially for the kids, they never feel it. They're eating something plant-based. No, plant-based fish, something new, something totally new direction. So we need to think about this one. How can we move through this? So make the business to fit with the modern world. So the convenience, ready-to-eat type meals, it is plant-based, but it's fish. Mimic the taste of fish. And next, it's like cultivated fish mouth. You know, it's like fish mouth. That is very kind of a delicacy, and in upscale restaurants, and people feel it. But this is cultivated. So, as I said, natural resources are limited, but unlimited wants, unlimited huge consumer demand on fish and seafood. How can we cater? So the research bridged that. The conferences, the dissemination of knowledge, everything helped to show these directions. So this is one example. Why this research is important? So which alleviate the pressure on oceans, rivers, and lakes, because we have very limited resources. How can we protect the oceans for the future? So while we are protecting the natural resources, and at the same time, we are trying to feed the consumers. That is important. And this is, of course, more modern, more the kind of more high-tech thing. So we know 3D printing that applies to any other industry, especially manufacturing, construction industry, but we never thought of sushi comes with 3D printed fish. But again, thanks to the researchers, thanks to the people who are involved and invest on it, they come up with the solution, more healthy option. Let the consumers feel it. They're having the fish it's not real fish, but it's 3D printed. Let's feed the world with it like the growing mouths. Fish is there, the taste is there, but it's 3D printed. The potentials are there to feed like that. One day will come. We need to keep the few fishes remaining in oceans, but still the consumers demand on fish. So what we do? So the research. That's what the point here. The research, continuous research, trying to find sustainable solutions. That's what this kind of forums facilitate, to expose to this knowledge, learn it, experience it, and move forward with that. Otherwise, if we are not exploring the new knowledge, industry will not survive. That's our duty, to bring into the new world, So this example, again, that is from industry, cultivation, fish sale. Different products. As you know, the busy consumers and all busy mothers, and it's like everybody employed, and so they all need convenience cost. But still, fish, healthy diet, the globally kind of a trending food, still the globally trading #1 products. Fish and seafood, still demand is there. And especially with the COVID, which boosts the demand for that. So how can we cater with this limited supplies, limited real fish? No, we don't. So we have to invest, we have to do the research. These examples help you to understand the future direction. And again, we need to think about, if we are moving with this, what will happen to the communities, the people who involved it? Of course, this will threaten the livelihood of many people. But again, we need to think about how can we differentiate these two. One thing, it's like artificially created, developed, the seafood, fish, which cater the growing demands. And the other way around, there is a group of consumers, they demand real one. They're willing to pay for that. So we make these two different market segments, provide the products to match with their requirements, and we are not trying to make any other kind of disturbances to the natural systems. So that market structures, the people who is playing there need to understand there is a group of consumers, they need seafood taste, the flavor, texture, and all, but they never feel it. They need to have real fish, but there is a group that are dying for real fish. So we need to understand the market demands, the structure, the shape of the market, and then feed them, because we are in the business. This is fish business. And with that, if you can remember, I said there is a group of consumers, they need real fish, and there is group, they're not worried about, they're not bothered about, is it a real one or the artificially created one? For the people, those who still think about, is it real one? Where they caught this fish? Who involved in? What vessels? What fishing gear they use? What the environments they keep this fish? What temperatures and everything. So let this value chains make it more transparent. Let consumers to trace it back to the fishing location. Consumers are very happy because the value chain is transparent. Information is available for them. For that, what researchers did, the blockchain innovation which applied more on financial and especially in IT sectors, bring into the fisheries. The same, the concept, same ideology bring into the fisheries, make blockchain innovation, apply into the fish and seafood value chains. So the mechanism is the same. Let the information available to everybody in the chain connected, and consumers, they can easily trace it back. So make sure that they're eating fish. They're eating fish from the Indonesia. They're eating the fish from the Southern Pacific, or they're eating the fish from Indian Ocean. So they know the conditions. They want to know this one, and they're willing to pay for them. That is much advantageous for the both ends. Make sure the healthy returns to the fishermen and the consumers, and eating healthy, safe fish. So with that, this component is important. People who involved in this industry, and especially the female hands in fish value chains. I said in the beginning, even though uncounted, unrecognized, the female roles, they're playing a great role. So we must understand, not just working in fish factories or not just working in the markets or not just working in a fishery, but they are all inside the household, inside the communities are very much important. Keep these traditions going on, keep the fish culture, the languages, the technology, all they preserve it with the families. For that, especially with the Asian culture, the cultures of fisheries, fishing communities, they are the kind of a natural one. For that, their roles are very much important. Need to find the way, how can we improve their status? With this modern fish business, where is the place for women? And how can they play? How can they enjoy the returns? That is the role of us, one part of research. With that, move on to the final part of my talk. This is the concluding remarks. So I'm not going to read this all, but this is for your knowledge, just to share some of these experiences based on my research. Fish and seafood value chains and fish business. We cannot talk this too differently. Fish business through the value chain approach. So there are different kinds of value chains, shorter ones, lengthier ones, operating within a limited region, or the global ones, and large number of the actors involved. They are different, and what everybody trying. And in general thought, everybody trying to provide the food to the consumers or the markets. They try to understand the shape and colors of the consumers and trying to match the requirements and change the products to fit with. So they are all involved in, they're all involved in the business. They're all expecting returns. And in the most important thing, the context that they operate, because the industry based on natural resource. So more the recent developments, the research, the investment on more in a different, the avenue, make it more kind of a artificial way to bridge the gaps, to feed the people who place the demand. That is very much important. With that, yes, still I have to say, the ongoing research, we explore the knowledge and help the industry to survive in a sustainable way, find solutions, make it more sustainable. That is very much important. That's what this knowledge sharing platforms and in across the globe, across the countries, this is very much important. Even in like, I'm far away from your country, but still I'm working in the same industry, working for the same industry, especially the universities, doing some research. So all these things common to us. So there are no borders to share the knowledge. That's what this, the opportunity sharing my experiences with you, that is very much important. And in the discussion, of course, you will join with me positively to share your thoughts. So with that, thank you all. And this is the kind of very traditional fishing business in my country, still surviving. So thank you all. Thank you very much for being asked me to join it, invite it, and I really congratulate everybody to have kind of a successful sessions ahead. Okay, then. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Professor Athini De Silva. I hope she can be joining in this discussions, but I will try to call her. If doesn't have an answer, it means that she will be having a difficulty in contact with us due to internet or electricity problem. That what she told us. But let we start with the two conflicting. No, I can say
Thank
no.
you very much. So I'm online with you throughout the session.
Okay.
No,
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, any questions, they can put it in the chat so I can reply.
Yeah, okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Right, okay.
There are 3 questions already, but all the questions were addressed first to Dr. Mark. Yeah, if you don't mind, I will read it again for you. The first question was in line with the sustainability of the aquaculture, which species, either marine species or freshwater aquaculture target species, would fit in the system that support the sustainability of aquaculture. The second question is related to, was posed by Dr. Umi Zakia about the use of genetic modified organism in sustainable aquaculture. The third question was from your colleague, Dr. Anik Martina, asking about she need more explanations on multi-trophic aquaculture sustainability. We would like you to give clarification on these three questions. While Professor Da Silva, I think we need to wait first before the question comes to the chat. Thank you.
Okay.
Please, Mark.
So with the three questions, the first question was that what species is the best choice for aquaculture? One thing is that aquaculture in Asia, where more than 90% of aquaculture is taking place, is that it provides cheap food to more than a billion of people, and that for many people it's an important, valuable and healthy food source. So with species that are low in the food chain and that are using it, mainly herbivore, tetrivorous fish species, I think that's important for aquaculture, and that I hope it will continue to be important for aquaculture. But another thing is that going with the next speaker and the technological development, that also in aquaculture, the way that we formulate diets in aquaculture is that we first of all, we getting ingredients that can be replacements for fish meal and fish oil in the diet through other type of industries that are more sustainable. And at the moment that happens, that we will be able to produce also carnivorous fish species, actually with not necessarily a higher impact on the environment than an omnivorous fish species. And when that happens, that will be then it will become not too important which species you select, but it's then more about consumer preference, market preference, maybe ease of processing. So with all these type of things that will make it which species are cultured in aquaculture. So that is my answer to that first question. The second question is about the use of genetic modified organism, GMOs. GMOs are already existing in aquaculture for many years. I think it goes back more than 20-25 years. But so far in aquaculture, they not accepted. Personally, I think we should be careful with changing the genetic information of animals. When we do husbandry and we culture animals and we do selection-based improvement of culture species, then we also changing the genetic makeup of a population. So we have gentle tools to play with the genetic makeup of species. But when it comes to GMOs, then we often make large changes in the genetic makeup. And for instance, if you put a plasmid in the genome of a fish, you also bring in other codes of information that we do not know exactly what it is doing. So there, I think that we should be very careful to do that. And so yeah, that's the way I look on it. And I know in Europe, the moment you tell a person it's a GMO organism, they don't like to eat it. I know in other places of the world that people are more easy on it. But yeah, personally, I think we should be careful in changing the genetic makeup of organisms. Another thing is that we constantly, even with normal techniques, selecting better growing fish species. And that has also an impact on the way the industry is developing. So the next question is about polyculture and integrated multi-trophic aquaculture systems. But when we select fish all the time, so for instance, we make a better growing salmon or a better growing tilapia or a better growing pangasius. But in doing so, we also pushing, not willingly, but practically it's the outcome, that in the direction of monoculture, because it's much more difficult to manage the system in a polyculture setting. And it's much easier to control the growth of these species, that we improve the species, but you need a standard production system. So we standardize all over the world. You need standard fry to stock in the systems. But, so we make it a uniform industry, and we all know in biology something that is very uniform and with little variation within the population is also is prone to disease, and it cannot absorb shocks. So I don't think that's a good thing. Then when it comes to IMTA and polyculture, we are also working on IMTA and polyculture, so trying to improve it. But IMTA is also a way of recycling nutrients in the system through organisms of a different trophic level. And this year we published a study in Reviews in Aquaculture on the efficiency of IMTA and what we can reach in IMTA. And what we often forget is in many calculations, we don't include the metabolism of the organisms that are growing in the IMTA. And if we calculate that or integrate it in our calculations, then we see that the overall efficiency of the IMTA is less than we normally predict. But with an IMTA, you still can go to the 60–70% of the nutrients that you put in as feed in the system, that you recycle to different types of organisms you culture. And polyculture is another one. I think polyculture is very important. But again, for making aquaculture systems that are resilient, if you have different species, and there's a disease in one type of species, then the farmer has other income from the other species. So you make the production system more resilient for the farmer. So yeah, these are my answers to the three questions. Okay.
Terima kasih. Thank you for your answer, Mark. And
Right.
now come to Professor Asini. You indeed already answered the questions posed by Adianua. Can you explain a little bit more about the answer of what you have written in the chat? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about like what they ask, what really whether we are going for the fish or whether we are going for shrimp or whether we are going for the cultured ones or artificial ones or the natural ones, which of course depends on the market. If we are in a business, we have to cater the market demands. So the what consumers are demanding, of course, we have to supply into the market. So then there is a demand for that. So based on that, there can be a market segmentation where the consumers still they are preferring the naturally capture or culture one, especially the wild collected fish or the using the traditional technology, or there may be some the group of consumers they are demanding the cultured fish or shell cultured things or 3D printing. So that is so diverse, which market decides based on the pricing, based on the nutritional profiling, based on the convenience, what kind of fish and seafood or fish and seafood based products are for them. So based on that, industry decide the mixture of the products. Still, the like if it comes into the many fishing nations and in the local markets, still we do prefer the fresh fish. Especially in Asia, we prefer fresh fish, and it's like every other day we used to shop for the fresh stuff. When it comes to the countries having a winter, having in the kind of a seasonal availability, that is common even for the agriculture. So we used to process fish. When it's in the season, we use lots of different processing techniques and store it for the off season. Same like now, we are having an issue with the balancing the resources. We are having a kind of the level now. So we don't have enough fish, we don't have enough resources, lots of other issues like climate change, and in the pollution and all. So how can we feed the growing populations? How can we meet the demands from the growing populations? Because of the health reasons and other the preferences, consumer places more demand on fish. And it's kind of the climate change issues, like again preferring the food from the oceans. So where there is a demand and how can we fulfill this demand? That's what the technology and the lots of research interventions are there to fulfill this demand. So of course, 3D printed or cell cultured, all these things are kind of a one segment in the market. They prefer this kind of products. Let's say the plant-based seafood, like mimic the taste and the appearance and all, but it's not fish at all. It's not shrimp at all, but it's plant-based proteins. So based on the market demand, based on the market requirement, based on the preferences, market decides. So the share of it, then the producers, they decide which kind of product mix is suitable for market. That is again different from region to region, country to country, even within the country, market to market. That is my answer for that. Okay.
Thank you, Professor. I would like to, because there was no other questions posted in the chat, I would like to still, there is, what do you call it? Let's say a big dilemma between taking without depleting, like what Dr. Mark has already been explaining about extractive aquaculture. At the other way, we have a practical, a reality that production is market driven. So fish production is based on consumer needs. So between the target species that fulfill sustainable aquaculture, PS versus the consumer preference. how can we, what we call it, balance between the rate of consumer preference and this sustainable aquaculture? I think if you can get my questions, I would like
Yeah,
to add
yeah, it's like
your answer
naturally, of
from
course, now we cannot balance it because the available resources or the health of the oceans or the rivers and sea and all. Naturally, yes, it's really difficult for us to balance. That's what the scientists, they are moving to different other options and looking for other options. So we exactly, the researchers, we cannot say this is the mixture like the 10% the natural one, 20% cell culture. No, we can't say this one. This it's like changing so diverse. And what we need to know, the market research and in the forecasting the future markets, how would be the consumers are. So based on the future consumers, what kind of food that they are going to demand, what kind of the food consumption patterns, the consumption behaviors they have, based on that, the markets and the suppliers decide what kind of food, what kind of food mix available in the market. So where we need to understand the consumer profiles, the future consumers. So it's not like in my generation, probably my parents' generation, that is totally different. The consumer profiles, what consumers demand. So do they consider the nutritional aspects? Do they consider the health aspects, or are there more price concerns, or maybe are there more safety quality, the certified food, lots of other things. Are there more concerned on environment, let's say the sustainability source fish, so which the consumer profiles simply tell us what kind of future consumers will we have. And then we, the researchers, we need to prepare for that, and markets, they need to prepare for that. That is my experience. Yes, I wish that
Yeah.
answer you.
Yeah, thank you. Can I add a small note from my side? But,
Yes.
like in my presentation in the beginning, I was talking about the planetary boundaries, and so I too, what I say it normally, my gut reaction is that the consumer decides, and actually what the people want, that is what we need to produce. But when we really go back, and our goal is to maintain the biosphere supportive to human prospering, and then we need to pay tribute to these planetary boundaries. And then other factors than only the consumer come in play, because the consumer wants something. Indonesia is a very large country. You have a lot of space, but I can give an example of the Netherlands, where actually we produce too many animals at the moment. And so now nature is deteriorating in the Netherlands because we produce too many animals. And so now the government starts putting in regulations that actually the whole animal production sector in the Netherlands needs to reduce by even 50%. And it's, so the government enforces that because of it, we are destroying other aspects of it, the planetary boundaries in our country. So it, I think the consumer is important, and in the end, it are always people that decide, also on the sustainable development goals. But so no discussion about that. But we should try as researchers to bring in the public debate that these other aspects are more important, or at least equally important, than what the consumer demands. Because if the biosphere is healthy, we can thrive as societies. If the biosphere is not healthy, we will, our children and grandchildren will have it very difficult in the future. So yeah, that's some additional feedback. Yeah.
yeah, but reducing dietary production in your
We should
country
not forget about the communities, the fish, especially fishing communities who is involving in this business. They're going to lose their jobs. The families going to lose the income, and that aspect also we need to think about. So there should be a balance. That's what my idea. We need to taking care of the communities, the environment, of course, the people who need the food. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yes, and I fully agree. Yeah? That's very true. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Mark, is it still in debate or policy already being taken to reduce the production?
In the Netherlands.
Yes.
Oh, that will be a long debate. Eh?
Okay.
So it's not easy to change something in society. And it's like just said that farmers who produce animals, that's their living. So what will we do with how will they change it? Can they change the type of agriculture they do? Can they go to another job? So there are many questions there, and that needs to be solved. And it's not only the farmer, but it's actually the whole value chain that is affected. So yeah, in that sense, the other presentation was very important. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I already if the policy is being taken, because this will what do you call it, influence all the what do you call it, value chains from many countries, because what we know now in the Netherlands, it's kind of buying protein from other countries that you can produce such a big protein in your country. This will affect the global economic of the world, I suppose. What do you think, Pak Mark?
We are a very small country. That I don't think at total global level, but at least that within the European context, that yeah, this will have big repercussions. That is true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you know that Frisian plah is still the what you call it, the big icon in Indonesia to have milk from the Netherlands, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. But the production in the Netherlands can be smaller, and in other countries they also have cows and they produce milk, and it still can be under the control of a Dutch company. Yeah? So that's what we see with international companies operating. So scaling down in the Netherlands does not mean that a lot of these companies will need to find other sources to continue their business. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Mark. One more question, a small question to Professor Asini. In what way we should balance between taking without depleting and the consumer needs? In what way? Or in which? Okay, Dr. Mark was talking about the sustainability. Which what do you call it, part, the boundary we can maintain? If you can get my question.
As I said, we can't exactly say the limits, the boundaries, which actually depends on the resource status, what resources available in hand to cater the needs of the people, or I mean the food demand. And again, like how can we make the balance? That is again depends on the, as I said, the consumers, what they demanded. So that is kind of naturally, artificially we can't do. but markets usually they balance this one. The manufacturers, the producers, or all suppliers, they decide what kind of the demand or what kind of requirement they can fulfill. So because they are doing lots of forecasting, lots of future the market planning prior to cater that. So for based on future market planning, based on the available resources, they decide to fill the gaps. We need research to fill the gaps. That's what cell culture things or the 3D printing and all comes into play. There is a gap, and how can we fill this gap through that? And again, the plant-based proteins, that is again like people need fish still, but we don't have enough fish meat or the flesh to feed it. So to fulfill the protein requirement, at least to balance it, so use the plant-based material, mimic the taste and the appearance more or less, and bring this one. So that of course, exactly we can't say this is like 10%, 20% like this, but of course, let naturally to balance it, what we can do, what researchers we can do. So we need to identify the gaps and how can we fill these gaps through this, the sustainable, solutions or the sustainable, the answers, what market demand, or how can we make the people survive? I mean, especially the fishing communities across the globe. So we cannot ignore the picture, there are millions. So that is my answer for that.
Terima kasih. The time is up. Sorry. But this is a very interesting topic we discussed. Probably the next question would be, can we save the boundary, saving, or what do you call it, changing the planetary boundary from one border to another border, but still maintaining the environmental condition. Okay, terima kasih. Thank you very much to Pak Mark, we usually said, and to Dr. Asini Da Silva. I hope it's a correct spelling to your name. Because of the time, we will continue to the next sessions. Thank you again. Let me applaud for both of the presentations, and we will continue for the session, second session. Thank you for your coming and time. I will give it to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks to Dr. Dewa Gedera Kawiyatnya and the speakers. We reminder again to all the participants to rename your account to group underscore full name. For example, AQ underscore Heather Jamaluddin. Mute your Zoom audio by clicking the icon speaker on your Zoom screen and use the provided virtual background on your Zoom. And we reminder again, after the presentation, there will be a discussion session for participants who want to ask questions. Participants are welcome to ask questions and send questions in the chat column with the format that has been made.
Well, the second session presentation, which is no less interesting than the previous course. But before that, allow us to introduce the moderator who will guide the course of this international conference. To Dr. Rahmi Nurdiani, the screen is yours.
All right. Thank you, MCs. Honorable Professor Rajiv Bhatt, Associate Professor Dr. Noor Azman Khasan, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rahmi Nurdiani. I will be serving as moderator for the second session. Similar to the previous session, you will have the opportunity to submit your questions to the chat panel. Please mention your name and institution before your question. Each speaker here will be having a maximum 30 minutes to present their presentation, and we will have a discussion session after the presentation by Professor Nur Azman Kassan. Before the presentation begins, I would like to introduce speaker for the session. The first presenter will be Prof. Rajiv Bhatt from Estonia University of Life Science, Estonia. Professor Rajiv, are you already in this Zoom? Maybe you can wave your hand if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Professor Rajiv Bhatt, he graduated from Biosciences Input Processing, Mangalore University, India. His research interests is agri-food sustainability, food processing and preservative technology, food security, and nutraceutical and designer food. Prof. Rajiv here, the current project from Prof. Rajiv are sustainable food production, quality and safety, and valorization technologies in reference to circular economy. So, Prof. Rajiv, you have 30 minutes to present your presentation. For the next 30 minutes, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Can you see my screen actually?
Yes, we can.
The presentation?
It's not yet changed to the slideshow. Yeah, could you please change it to slideshow mode? Thank you.
Is it okay now? I'm sharing the screen.
You're sharing the screen, yes, but could you please change it to the slideshow mode? At the bottom, you can choose the slideshow mode. At the bottom, sorry. Okay, we should wait for Prof. Rajiv to re-enter the Zoom because it was signal
Yeah, I'm
problem.
sharing my screen, but I'm not sure. Okay.
Okay, you're sharing your screen. Okay.
Can you see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, that's good.
At the bottom of your PowerPoint presentation, there is a Could you change it that the slideshow? Thank you.
Is it okay now?
Yes, it's good. Okay, you
Okay,
can
good.
start. Thank you.
Okay. Very good morning, all of you. Actually, it's morning 11:30 here in Estonia, and I expect it's afternoon now for you people over there. Okay, for the next few minutes, I'll be talking something on fisheries products technology. What are the innovations happening in this field of research, the prospects and the challenges that is expected in the future. Okay, basically, I would like to say that this is my affiliation over here, or thank you for introducing me, the moderator over there. Before I go into the real presentation, I would like to say that I prepared this presentation mainly keeping the young researchers in mind, as well as the PhD students and the doctoral students who will be listening to my talk over there. Of course, more in detail, we can have a discussion, technical discussion later on after I give my talk. So this is the topic which I'm going to talk on. Well, this is a city where I'm sitting and logging in. It's a Tartu, beautiful small city of the universities, we call them. A lot of students around in the campuses going around. Ultra cold temperature, sometimes if you see the river gets frozen. If you see the left-hand side, the river is frozen and we go up to minus 22 to 25 degrees centigrade in the winter. So the winter has just started. So in case anyone of you plan to visit me or my lab, please make sure you don't come in November to February or March. Later on, you're always welcome. Want to visit me or my lab later on for collaboration or research. Okay, this is about the city where I'm logging in. Why I showed this picture is when the river gets frozen, we are talking about fisheries. There are fishes which are alive even after the frozen river is there. This is something interesting. That is something interesting which you need to identify why it is happening. At ultra minus 25 degree, fishes are surviving. What is happening, that one we are not going to discuss in my talk, but it's just a view. When you come and visit me, you can see it yourself. Going to the topic, very important to see the sustainable development goals are achieved before 2030. Most of you understand, you are already well aware what is a sustainable development goal, what are the requirements of this SDGs, and why this need to be achieved before 2030. Of course, to benefit all the humans on this earth. That's a basic criteria put forth by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We are most interested in the sustainable goal number 14, which is life below water. When you say life below water, it is mainly fisheries, or maybe the aquaculture, or maybe the seafood industries. This is about that whole thing. So how best we can exploit the fishery industries or the harvesting techniques so that the environment is not degraded with low carbon emissions. These are all aspects that we are going to talk today, or I am going to highlight today. Of course, with some case study examples where I have been working on. Of course, most of you might know what is fisheries product technology, what does it aim at. I'm not going in depth into all these things to introduce you. But of course, it covers many things, starting from providing required skills in fish handling, pre-harvest and post-harvest, hygienation, safety, quality, green processing technologies, packaging technologies, distribution, marketing, all the novel technologies. Besides that, there's one important field we have to deal with, which is waste and byproducts management in the fisheries industries. This is a hot topic in today's world, especially when we are concerned about the European Union. So valorization of waste and byproducts coming from the entire seafood industry or the fishery industries is quite important. Later on, it comes about the product development, new products coming up in the picture. What are the new products? How it is going to benefit health conscious consumers? These are some of the things I'm going to touch on. Of course, at the end of the day, when we're talking about fisheries product technology, it's more about understanding the sustainability challenges, what are the challenges, and how best we can ensure the food security for healthy living for all the people in the world. This is the main thing the concept covers of this technology. Many of you might have already heard what is a revolution, the blue revolution. When you say blue revolution, the word itself says it focuses mainly on increasing the fisheries production and productivity. When you say production and productivity, it is both inland and marine. So why there's a need for a blue revolution today? Is it really necessary or is it not necessary? If necessary, why is it necessary that we need to have a blue revolution? Is it only for environmental concern or is it beyond the environmental concerns? We need to focus on this. That's a much important fact for today. Of course, when the people are talking about global estimation of fish, the data on the status of fish market is always provided by FAO. Usually this is updated at least twice in a year, or sometimes if you go to this FAO website, they give the complete picture on the estimation of fish abundance in the global scenario, including what is happening in research, what is happening in fisheries, what are the scientists doing in the global scale. Everything is updated and scrutinized by a committee of researchers. And then if you visit this website, you get all the details. The details I have got is from 2018. That means next year there will be more updates available for the people throughout the world. Interesting fact, especially for the students who are listening to me, this is very important for you to understand what is happening in the world, how much fish are harvested, what is the technology that is happening. This all information you can get from this one single website. I'm not going in depth into this subject. So if you see the global fish production from 2002 to 2021, almost a decade, you can see there is a gradual increase. Almost I can say there is a significant increase that is happening, except for in the year 2020, wherein the COVID situation happened and the fisheries market came down. Apart from that, the global production has been seeing an increasing trend. And we need to be happy. Of course, the listener need to be happy because Indonesia is among the world's leading fishing nations. Of course, China is a big country. We cannot compare China, but you are one of the top. So why this is important for your country also, we can look into this matter later on when we're discussing it. A lot of advanced processing technologies are there available today in the scientific field. History of food preservation is well known for you people, starting from drying, fermenting, salting, smoking, the preservatives, old range preservatives. These are all known facts. But when we talk about advanced processing technologies available in the market today, so we are talking about high pressure processing, we are talking about radiation technology, cold pasteurization technologies, pulse electric field, and imaging technologies. All these technologies are concentrated more towards ensuring food security, food safety, and quality management. So if you are aware of the green technologies, that's the need of the hour. Everywhere, if you go into the research arena or the industries, people have been talking about green technologies. So this is going to be the future. Of course, it's already here, but still many people will be looking into the green technologies, green processing, and green preservation technologies. These are the technologies that is being covered now. Another important fact, because I am leading a chair in waste and byproducts management as a European Research Agency chairholder, I am working over here. We have been working on a lot of aspects related to waste and byproducts management, specifically in the food industries. How are we going to manage it? What is the best option we can give to the consumers and the industries for recycling their waste? In short, we call it as a circular economy concept. So as per the FAO, almost 9.1 million tons of marine capture fisheries are wasted. That's a huge amount actually. How about tapping these resources to produce value-added products in many ways? What are things that can be obtained? What are the products that can be developed? These are something interesting field that is coming up, especially in the EU context. Many people are working on this aspect, including the, of course, I am not sure about the Asian continent because I am much sure of the EU region, wherein people have been working to look into minimizing this waste and byproducts. And if you Google and check out what is circular economy, what is circular bioeconomy, then you know what is happening in the field. Of course, fish waste, sometimes even there are a lot of undersized, low value fish that have been caught, and there is a lot of lack of market demand. So these fishes, they are just generally thrown away. Instead of throwing away these fisheries or marine resources, they can be reused and recycled into value-added products. Of course, in many countries, we have this storage space problem in the fishing vessel, logistics, marketing issues. I will not go deep into this, but I assume that most of you are well aware what are the problems and issues associated with fisheries and fisheries technology. So why fish? Why value addition of fish? This is a basic question. When you're talking about big edible fish, we are not too concerned about that one for valorization technologies. Or when you're talking about circular economy or circular bioeconomy concept, we are more interested to look into those fish or the byproducts which are getting wasted. If you see this single picture on your screen, there are scales which find its application in bioplastics. The skin of fish, they find its application in wound healing treatment. The bones, they find its use in glue and toothpaste and skin products. Whole fish, maybe medical remedies are there. The gonad, they go as absorbent. If you go for a swim bladder, they go as a filling agent or an absorbent, or maybe in the condom making process. There is instrumental things also being developed by using the intestine of the fish. There are several things. This one single slide, okay, this one single slide will give you why this fisheries product technology or waste valorization or byproducts valorization is very important. Just one fish gives a pictorial representation. What is the importance of this in our human welfare or in the society? So this is the reason we are talking about the circular economy and circular bioeconomy concept. So if you go as a aquaculture as a circular bioeconomy model, of course, the primary products it is consumed. When it comes for the bone and the skin and the fish, it goes as a byproducts. When you extract these byproducts or look into the bioproducts, then of course there is a lot of bioactive components present in this byproducts. Maybe they are in the form of protein, peptides, oil, fish oil, of course, of many of you know it's rich in omega fatty acids, omega 3 and 6, pigments, minerals, many things can be obtained from these byproducts. On the other source, we consider as a waste. When you say waste, that is something being discarded totally. And this goes as maybe as a landfill, or in certain cases, people have been looking into extracting as a matter of carbon source, or maybe as a problem with the organic matter and minerals. So two different things over here. One is waste and one is byproducts. So when you say aquaculture byproducts, this is what we are more concerned about. So of course, half of tuna is a byproduct. If you see tuna fillets, if you remove the fillets, the other 50% just goes as a waste or maybe as a byproduct. So this can be reused. We are working on similar concepts over here in our research chair. We're looking into what are things that can be done by using this aqua waste or the fishery industry waste, irrespective of what is coming from. But here in my talk, I'm more concentrating on fish and fisheries rather than going to other seafood and seafood-based waste. Because the given time frame, it's difficult for me to cover everything. But and again, as I said, my talk is more related to and concentrated towards young researchers and doctoral students, or maybe the students who are interested to come up in this field actually. Okay, when you say this waste and byproducts, as I said, there are a lot of green sustainable process technologies being employed. Maybe it's a microwave assisted technologies, ultrasound, cold plasma, supercritical carbon dioxide extraction, high pressure processing. All these processings have been used to obtain value addition. Side by side, we also look into the environmental point, how best the environment is not disturbed, how best things can be recycled and re-put into the human system so that nothing goes as a waste and byproducts. This single picture is more than enough to identify why people need to concentrate more on the sea, or maybe more on the water resources, or maybe on the fisheries researchers. Over here, I have given a list of things and the products that can be obtained by this waste and byproducts of the industry. Maybe it may be a form of collagen, chitin, gelatin, omega fatty acid, peptides, protein hydrolytes, functional vitamins, polysaccharides, steroid hormones, much more. Just imagine one single entity can contribute immensely for human welfare. So this is the need why we need to take care of this entire scenario of the field. So of course, when you talk about a solution for reducing the waste, of course, we are making a lot of policies and regulations in the European Union and recommending to the FAO also later on how these things can help the in the harvesting process, the agriculture dependent farming community or the fisheries department farming community, the researchers, scientists, and other people and other stakeholders. This is what we are looking into. Of course, at the end of the day, we're looking into supporting the circular economy concepts. This is about the waste and byproducts technologies. So when we go for the new product development, as keenly listening to the discussion that happened after the before my previous speaker, they're talking about new food product development, and in some cases they're talking about meat alternatives. I will touch some points on that in my slides actually. When we talk about new fisheries-based product development, it is basically the idea which comes into picture. What is the idea which is come to your mind? Why we need to develop new products? What is the use of these new products? If new products are developed from fisheries, who is going to be benefited? Is it only the consumers, or is there anything beyond industry personnel or the manufacturers? Who are the people who are really getting benefited by this product development process? A detailed indication, this gives the whole entire picture. This is what I'm going to talk now. If you see this slide, whether it's a freshwater or saltwater fish, characterization of raw material is very important. The basic raw material, what to obtain while developing a new food products from the fisheries industries, that is much important. Developing of recipes are important. Okay, if you're cooking the fishery product, how are you going to cook it? Are you going to go for a microwave? Or are you going for steam cooking? Or are you just going for oven cooking? So this everything, or oil frying, everything has its own characteristic feature that imparts in a new product developed. Prototyping is very important, especially when you're designing in the lab, in the kitchen. Everything what happens in your lab and kitchen cannot be applied in a pilot scale. This needs to be remembered actually. When you're going for a new product development, you may have some interesting results in your lab. When you want to disseminate this lab generated information to the public or in a pilot scale manufacturing process, this may not be the true. So as a researchers, what we do, we develop some new products, maybe a meatball, fish burger, fish patties, or something like that. It tastes good through sensory evaluation, and we report it as a journal article or a research paper. But whether we are really going for technology transfer, whether really this lab-based generated information, is it going to the consumers, or are the industry people benefited by our trials? This is most important thing we need to understand. Second thing, when we are developing new food products, flavor development, retention of aroma, the fishery aroma, the texture, what we call as mouth feel, these are all important. Also, of course, most of you might have already known, and who are working on new product development using fish and fisheries products, shelf life studies are very important. I've seen many people miss out this part. Sometimes the shelf life is only 6 weeks or 8 weeks or lesser than that. They just keep in a freezer and they say, okay, shelf life is good. But after shelf life, whether the original quality is retained or not retained, this is much important when you're developing a new product or new fisheries-based product. Of course, marketing trends, people have been marketing, they know the way of marketing this fish and fisheries products, the industry people, but we are not going to get into this. But the main thing you need to understand is the raw material characterization is important, sensory evaluation is important, commercialization is important, shelf life of a product is important. And who is going to be benefited? The consumer, that need to be market targeted. Coming to the key success factors in innovation and development of fish products. Of course, when you develop a new food products, you should understand there should be a continuous supply of your product. You cannot develop some product, put into the market, and later on when it becomes a success, you cannot say, okay, my raw material is not there. You cannot go in search of a raw material which is not available. So this is very important actually. Networking is important. Rivalry control is another thing. When you talk about rivalry control, for example, you're developing a new fish fillet or maybe something fish oil. There are a lot of rivalries in this market. So you are going to compete with someone who is already there in the system. So how are you going to control this? How are you going to manage this? How are you going to promote your product is better than others? These are some of the things that need to be understood. There is one more thing called as consumerism, wherein the consumer opinion is much important when you're developing new fish products or fisheries-based products. The customers need to accept your thing or the product, and they should have access to your new products. If there is no access for a product, then again, it's a loss of time and money and the investment for you. Entry protection and substitute protection are also there in the market, wherein sometimes you need to go for IP or the patenting of your new products. The idea need to be patented, the formulas need to be patented, and this is very important, especially if there are young researchers who are listening to me. When you develop something new, try to get an IP for it. At least if you're not going for a patent, see that it is registered in your name as a original inventor of a product. This is very important for you so that your idea and innovations are not leaked out. Some examples of this fisheries-based products, there are all like fish oil, gummies are coming up, capsules are there, aqua feeds are there, there are feeds for the domestic animals, cats or the dogs, everything. You can see a lot of things are coming up in the new fishery product development or the new product development in the international market. So how are you going to compete? This is where I said Indonesia has got a lot of scope for in the export market. You are the leading people in the world. You can always look into the new things and how the export market can be improved through your networking and collaborations and other stuff. Just a few examples like a reformatted fish product, just to show you how it looks like, the fish ball. I think I'm not going deep into this slide. Most of you have already tasted fish ball, fish sticks, fish tofu, the nuggets, popular sandwich dumplings are there. The main thing, as I said, we need to look into is the purity of your sample, the raw material what to get, is it pure enough, is it original enough, the safety, rules and regulations involved, the authenticity of a raw material. You cannot say it's a tuna and you market it as something other low quality fish, consumer satisfaction and marketing. These are the important things when looking into the fisheries new product development. I will touch into some things on the restoring the values of traditional fish products. Of course, these are some of the popular Indonesian dish. Many of you might have tasted it already. You passed the lunch, but my lunch time is there shortly. Okay, there is a lot of traditional fish products. Slowly, traditional fish products are losing their value. Why? The young generation are mainly looking for the ready-to-eat food or maybe junk foods. This is a trend going on not only in your country but throughout the world. The young generation have lost the value for the traditional food, what their grandmother used to prepare, what their mothers earlier they used to prepare in childhood. People are relying more on fast foods and the foods that can be prepared in a shorter time. So it is very important when you're talking about fisheries technology, the values of traditional fish products are retained, the recipes are retained, so that in a sustainable way, this can be passed on to your future generations. The future generations can always enjoy the food what our forefathers or grandparents or parents or we enjoyed. This is very, very important, how the young generations can restore the value of traditional fish and traditional fish products. Of course, it's always good when you go on a holiday, it's always good you go for a fishing with your grandparents, or in the holidays visit your grandparents, or maybe at least your family home or any elder people, spend some time with them and understand more about the culture, especially the food culture, the recipes, write down in your book and try to record it so that these recipes will not go as a waste in the coming years and it will be written for a long time. This is very, very important. Wherever I go for the lecture or talk, this single slide, I use it so that people know the values and history of ourselves.
Prof. Rajiv, you have
Yeah.
10 minutes to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I have got another 6 slides. I think it should be done. So of course, novel aqua feeds are there, fish feeds are coming up in the market. China is leading in the market, but it's always good that every country becomes self-sufficient and develop low-cost fish feeds so that the technology can be moved ahead. Some examples of the fish feed which is available in the market, very expensive, but if Indonesia or the other regions who are leading in these products, if they're able to develop this, this will be very good for the international feeding market. There is a talk about fish alternatives or plant-based fish. Lot of happenings going on this. Even I am in one of the committee members in this alternative meats committee in the European Union. So we are talking about what would be the future looks like. Can artificial meat be produced? If produced, can it have mimic the same taste, texture, quality, mouthfeel of the original fish? If yes, then how are you going to market it? What is the price? What is the marketability? These are the issues that is coming up again and again. But the future is sure that a lot of plant-based fish or meat alternatives will definitely be there in the market in the coming years, at least in the next 10 to 12 years. From the fish industry, of course, even our group, we are working on developing smart packaging films. We are trying to isolate the biopolymers from fish industry in the form of gelatin or chitin or the chitosan. And we are trying to see how the application part can be done. What are the things can be developed like biomolecular packaging, especially to reduce the environmental pollution and other issues, and how best biodegradability can be obtained. Some publications of our group, or maybe me when I was way back when I was working in Malaysia. I was working in Malaysia like almost for 10 years, few years back, 5-6 years back. Some interesting results were also obtained. Nanotechnology in fishery industry, this is also another technology that is coming up. We are also working on waste treatment of wastewater from the fishery industries through using nanotechnology. We are trying to use selenium or silica and the chitosan and trying to see how best we can reduce the pollution in the aquaculture industry through use of nanotechnology. Nano vaccines are also coming up wherein efficient delivery of nutrients and drugs are being done to enhance the fish potential in absorbing this. These are all the new technologies that is coming up in the fish processing technology industries. Food products is another important thing that we need to understand. food frauds has been there since long time, mainly for economical gain by the manufacturers or the producers. You go to a restaurant, you think you're buying an expensive fish on your plate, or you're going for a supermarket buying a tin of food which you think it's an original tuna fish. It may not be the one. The price you pay and what you get might be totally different. So there might be wrong labeling also. So this intentional food frauds, mislabeling, wrong marketing is very common in many countries. So how are you going to reduce it? How the seafood swap can be reduced? This is one of the interesting field you can look into. Even we are also looking into this in our group and how things can be improved. But still we are in the initial stages of identifying this DNA-based barcoding system, wherein by using this DNA barcoding system, we can really identify whether the original samples through DNA extraction and other techniques by PCR techniques, can the original fish or the raw material can be identified. This is one thing. And another thing is blockchain technology. Of course, we have initiated some research on blockchain technology, especially when we are getting the product from outside Europe. Can we recognize where this material originated? This is one of the things that we are looking into. Nowadays, digitalization, robotics technology, electronic fish market information, this has become very popular throughout the world. Robotics are there in the fish industries. Of course, they have taken up the manpower. Electronic fish market information gives direct information on the price of the fishes on that day and what is the procedure that can be operated, what are the things that can be done, what are the technologies that can be adopted. These are some of the things that is coming up in the research scenario. Artificial intelligence is one thing that people can focus on, how artificial intelligence can be applied and what are the techniques that can be adopted from this artificial intelligence to get this highest harvesting or to secure the fisheries production, or in other ways sustainable fisheries production. Of course, we call it as cloud data center where they recognize these things. Sea cage are there, drones are being used, wireless transmission systems are being used, and of course the work vessels also are there fitted with this satellite information technologies. So this is the future actually, wherein people would like to work on artificial intelligence. Even I am going to work on this aspect starting from January 2023. If any of the researchers or the people who are listening to me, if you're interested in collaborating with me on this AI and other techniques, feel free to drop an email to me after my talk actually. So every year fishing bycatch kills many marine organisms. Can this be prevented by artificial intelligence or other software programs? How are we going to manage this? We need to think and plan properly. So conclusion, the future is very clear. Fisheries management and technology need to be focused within the blue economic context. Valorization of waste and byproducts is a requirement of the hour, especially to support the bioeconomy. We also need to look and exploit the underexplored or underutilized fishes, how they can support the farming community, how this can support the manufacturers, the producers, or the industry people, the consumers. Of course, other marine resources also are there like seaweed, shrimp, mussels. I have not touched all this part independently, but at the end we have to see that the environment is not harmed, the carbon emissions are reduced. This is the important thing. Low cost, safer aquafeeds need to be developed to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. Green technologies, they are the future. As I said, micro-assisted extraction or maybe ultrasound-assisted extraction or even natural preservatives can be used for processing and preservation. Artificial intelligence and robotics, they are the future. Main thing is, how are we going to combat the climate change? There is a lot of discussions happening on climate change and their impact on fisheries industries. How are we going to reduce the impact of climate change? This needs to be understood. Of course, COVID era got a lot of information for us. How are you going to secure the food security post-COVID-19 era? This is the much important thing we need to understand. How are you going to secure the world after the COVID-19 era? If there is something repeating after another 5 years, 10 years, how we are going to ensure food security? Can fisheries be a solution or for this type of problems or issues arising in the future that need to be understood? Of course, for every industry, whether it is a horticulture-based industry or a fisheries, seafood industries, life cycle assessment is very important. to understand the environmental impacts. This is much required. This is also one of the hot research topics coming up in the field, the life cycle assessment, which is much important for the future generation. Of course, some books of mine which was published recently are quite popular books actually. If you're interested in any of the topics, as I said, in a short time, we cannot say what we have been doing, what are the works that is going to be carried out in the future. This book is something where you can refer in case if you want to have more idea or the more information on what we are doing, drop an email to me, then we can discuss in detail. For young students and researchers, I always put up this slide when I'm giving a lecture. There's always a lot of opportunities in the European Union, a lot of research fellowships, grants, even for PhD students, 1-year grant, 2-year grant, 6-month short visit grants. There are a lot of grants available. You can look into this individual grants. If you're interested, you can always come to any of the European Union labs, have a stay for 3 months to 6 months, conduct your experiments, meet the researchers, and try to get the things done. So in conclusion, which country will be the future aqua bowl or maybe the food bowl? Will it be Indonesia or some other Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, or other regions in the world? This is a sustainable question that needs to be answered in the future. And of course, the young generation, I expect you are sitting there and you know what is better for you and the future. Some references from my own research and from other articles which I took it. Thank you for the time. On to all collaborators. I'm done.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Rajiv, for the interesting presentation. Thank you so much. We're going to see you in the next session of the discussion session. Okay. The second speaker is Associate Professor Dr. Nur Azman Kasan from University Malaysia, Terengganu, Malaysia. Dr. Nur Azman Kasan graduated from University of Adelaide, Australia. His research interests are in biological science, ecology, limnology, environmental sciences, management, and bioremediation. Currently, he's doing project in environmental biotechnology and identification of microbial composition by morphological and molecular approaches. Okay, without further ado, I would like to welcome the second speaker, Dr. Nur Azman Kasan. The next 30 minutes is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon here in Malaysia. Thank you, Mrs. Chairwoman, Prof. And I'm very glad to, and I would like to appreciate Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science, Universitas Brawijaya for organizing this third international conference on fisheries and marine research at ICoFMR 2022. And I'm very glad again to be sitting with the other prominent researcher, Dr. Mark, Prof. Ashini, and also just now, Prof. Ranjit, who I heard that been working in Malaysia so many times, so many years. So in regards to my connection with Universitas Brawijaya, I'm just finishing having what we call a lecture as a visiting lecturers in Brawijaya. My last lecture was last 2 weeks. All right, so I hope that and when I received this invitation, I'm grabbed this invitation for upcoming conference. So thank you so much again. My highest appreciation for your continuous support, and hope to have our collaboration in terms of networking later on. So today I would like to share my research topic, also particular in my research topic, so which entitled for today, I would like to share with you all one of the findings entitled Unveiling the Impacts of Rapid BFT-TM. So I will let you know what is why I call it Rapid BFT-TM. So BFT stands for Biofloc Technology on water quality and nutrient contents in all male giant freshwater prawn or Microbacterium rosomaggi culture pond. So here in Malaysia, we call it as udang galah. So I'm Azman, and I am now appointed as a Deputy Director in Higher Institution Center of Excellence, HICOE, Institute of Aquaculture, Tropical and Fisheries, Aquatrop, University Malaysia, Terengganu. Thank you. Let's continue with my first slides on the introduction. Mrs. Chairperson, so can you see my slide clearly?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you. As an introduction, giant freshwater prawn, or scientifically named as a Microbacterium rosmajai, is an important culture species in Malaysia, and I believe also in other Southeast Asian country, and identified as a targeted species to generate incomes and other socio-economic growth among farmers and aquaculturists. So this is regards with our University Malaysia, Pertanian Malaysia, Professor Banu and also Professor Christianos in 2016. Due to high demand of this species, many stakeholders try to invest on culturing this prawn species. This species also known as udang galah, as I said earlier, by the locals, and was identified highly distributed along the northwest India to Vietnam, Philippines, and other in northern Australia. These species are also indigenous to Malaysian water due to highly availability of the suitable environment for the prawn, such as rivers, lakes, estuary, and also other paddy field canals. Currently, the culture of this prawn in paddy field is commonplace in several Asian countries, such as Bangladesh, due to huge area available in paddy fields. This freshwater prawn, or this Microbacterium rosmajai species, is considered as a major aquaculture industry in Asia, which contribute about 98% of total aquaculture production. It is reported by Asaduzzaman et al. 2005. In Malaysia, in particular, the Department of Fisheries, or we call it in synonym as DOF, has given a full attention to this freshwater prawn as the most important food product for exports. Right, so cultures of this all-male freshwater prawn was proven to produce significantly higher yield than all-female or mixed prawn culture. In Asia, in particular, Malaysia is the founder on the breeding of this species. Since late 50s, for the sustainable of this freshwater prawn production, the farming operation should have the comprehensive data on water quality and also the availability of the infrastructure and facility in the farm operation. Most importantly, water quality conditions provide a significant influence on the productions of the prawns culture. Okay. All right. And as regard to the problem statement, Islam et al. 2004 identifies that besides generating significant incomes, as I said earlier, the prawn farming also contributed to the degenerations of coastal environment and threatening the sustainability of prawn production. The water quality will directly affect the prawn growth and survival and operation and production in farms operation. Poor water quality will also affect the prawn quality, such as disease outbreak, mortality, slow growth, and retarded the shrimp development. It will also affect the productions of the shrimp in general, in overall. So in other research by Asaduzzaman, all right, identified that the water quality parameters for freshwater prawn is also crucial, very crucial for the sustainable production. And this situation has become a common problem in freshwater prawn culture in many countries. Okay. And therefore, bioflocks. So I believe that most of us have ever heard about the biofloc technology. So biofloc technology is a new green technology that helps reducing the environmental impact and helps improving the shrimp aquaculture production. Biofloc technology also consists, for those who can recall, that biofloc technology consists of heterotrophic bacteria, phytoplankton, zooplankton, protozoa, and detritus that conglomerate and helps maintaining the water quality and reducing the water exchange in the pond. These biological microbes in the biofloc is critically important. Engineering in removing and converting the organic material and in removing the toxic waste. And by adding up the carbon sources in ratio of carbon to carbon to nitrogen ratio of 12 to 15 in water column, the flock will convert the toxic nutrient into beneficial proteins, such sources for shrimp consumptions. This biofloc microbials later is proven to contain high polyunsaturated fatty acid or PUFA, and provide an essential amino acid that are also good for prawn consumption. And therefore, due to this importance functions of biofloc technology, application in aquaculture operation system for this freshwater prawn, this study was conducted to analyze the water quality parameter and nutrient concentrations on the giant freshwater prawn or Microbacterium pond of all male culture in earthen pond at the eastern coast of Malaysia, where is in Besut, Terengganu. And therefore the study was conducted up to 4 months of culture periods, all right, which emphasize on the complete data collection and water quality, focusing on water quality and also nutrient concentration. All right, can we look into the methodology? So the first one, identification or the locations of the Microbacterium rosomajai grow out ponds. 5 earthen ponds located in Bukit Keluang, Terengganu, Johor, Bukit Keluang, Besut, Terengganu, Malaysia, was sampled and assessed for water quality and nutrients, analyzed up to 4 months throughout the culture period, and up to a total of 68,000 PL or post larvae of all male microrhizomajai seeds were stored in each earthen pond. All right, then the sample collections and water quality monitoring were conducted from February 2018. So this is our first trial, to May 2018. And for the first pond, we label as a pond 1 commercial probiotic. We use a pond plus was added as additional probiotic. On the other hand, pond 2, pond 3, and pond 5 were fed with additionals with commercial feed, whereas only pond 4 was injected with rapid BFTTM inoculum and added with molasses in that culture pond. So the sampling was conducted bi-weekly, with the first sampling began on February 8th and ended in May 30th, which was about 4 months of study period. The in situ measurements of temperature, pH, salinity, DO, total dissolved solids was recorded in situ in the culture ponds to avoid the fluctuations or error of the measurements if the sample were recorded in the laboratory. So that's why we conducted in situ for using YSI multi-parameter was used to measure the water parameter in all ponds, and all data were recorded accordingly. And the data were collected and recorded in triplicates during the sampling period for all parameters for further analysis. The sampling was also conducted bi-weekly, with the first sampling conducted began on February 8th, as I mentioned earlier. Right, and on the other hand, we also water sample were also collected using polyethylene bottle 500 with a capacity of 500 ml, and were kept in ice box to reduce the microbial activity in the water samples, and transferred to the laboratory in under cold conditions for analysis. UV-Vis Shimadzu 1800 spectrometer was used for analysis. In terms of nutrient concentration, we analyzed for ammonia, nitrate, and phosphate analysis following finite diiotizations and ascorbic acid methods, respectively. All right, all samples were also measured in triplicates. All right, so on top of that, before we go deeper into detail on the results, we also make use of a data analysis. We use a two-way ANOVA of post-hoc, and two key tests were applied with univariate analysis of variance to analyze the water quality and nutrient differences between each pond. The SPSS 225.0 package was used for conducting the statistical analysis. All right, let's move on to the results that we received on. All right, so for the results, for the temperature, so we can see the temperature on my right hand side. For the temperature analysis between ponds, there was a significant difference between each pond, and dated samples on the temperature result from all ponds. The temperature was identified in the range of 29 degrees centigrade to 35 degrees centigrade, a bit higher from all ponds analyzed. And let's move to the second parameters, which is total dissolved solid, TDS. All right, so there was a significant difference as well between each pond and date sample on TDS resulted from the pond. The TDS was also in the range of 6.64, the lowest one on the pond 3, to 25 milligram per liter of ppm from all the ponds. The TDS reading kept increasing until the last day of sampling, identified in almost 5 culture ponds. For pond 1 in particular, the TDS range from between 11 to 25. For pond 2, the TDS range from between 13 to 20 milligram per liter. Pond 3 TDS range from 6.4 to 18, and while TDS in pond 4 range between 17 to 19. So this one, this pond 4 showing that a very small range of fluctuation, and while in pond 5, the TDS range between 7 or 11, almost 7.7, 10.7 to 16.4. So referring to the TDS graph. On the other hand, dissolved oxygen. For dissolved oxygen, there was a significant difference between each pond and sampling for the DO result. The DO range from 2 ppm to 10 ppm, so a bit high, but the 2 ppm is considered as low. All right, and from all analyzed. In pond 1, okay, the blue in color, the DO range between 2.6 to 5, while where it was identified is the lowest of the DO. So 2.6 considered as low. All right, for pond 2, on the other hand, the DO range between from 3.6 to 5.7, also in lower modes of dissolved oxygen. Pond 3, on the other hand, identified also the lowest, right? 2.8 to 10. And I will let you know why the dissolved oxygen a bit low or low in this condition. Okay, meanwhile, in pond 4, the dissolved oxygen was the lowest, 1.7 to 7.4. All right, so in pond 5, on the other hand, range between, on that kind of range between 2.9 till 6.5. So we can see that mostly the DO was identified below than 5 milligram per liter or 5 ppm, which is considered as very low. All right, so somehow it's not suitable for the growth. All right, and it is essential for the culture prawn productivity. If we move to the salinity concentration, salinity, there was a significant difference between ponds and between and dated sample. So salinity was ranged between 7 to 19. We can see that there is also a big range for except identified higher on the last day of some sampling period. All right. We can see that pond 1, the salinity range between 9.7, all right, 9.7 up to 24 ppt, and for pond 2, the salinity range between 12 to 18. So I can see that from the result, it can be identified that the salinity can reach over 16 ppt. Somehow is even though is considered as a high salinity giant freshwater prawn, okay, can reach over 16 ppt, which is a non-suitable range of pH level for freshwater prawn. The salinity was also identified higher, which also about at the pond 1 is very close to the estuary. All right, at the end of the sampling at the pond 1. Okay, last but not least, the pH value, there was also significant difference between each pond. All right, but I can say that the pH identified or the recorded pH was still in the safe level for freshwater prawn as compared to other parameters. Okay, let's go to the ammonium or nutrient concentration. We're focusing on three different nutrient, which is ammonium. Content was a significant difference between pond and the date of sampling. The ammonia was ranged in the safe level, still in the safe level in most of the ponds. So pond 1 ammonium concentration was in the range of 0.018 to 0.9, still considered as safe. Pond 2 up to 0.2. Pond 3 was in the range up to 0.7. While pond 4 was ranged on 0.7 as well, and pond 5 0.1. So all ammonium concentration throughout the culture period was considered as a safe for the growth and survival of a Microbacterium zambojan. For nitrate and O2 content, there was also significant difference. All right, so you can see that there is a fluctuation, and also only for the pond 1, right? So the spike of the nitrate, all right, we can see the spike up to 0.9, all right, was identified for pond 1, but in overall the nitrate level in all pond still considered as low, and safe level is less than 1 ppm for the cultured prawn of environment. And last but not least, the phosphate contents, we can see that there is a fluctuation. There was also significant difference between ponds and sampling dates, and I would like to make a conclusion based on, otherwise the result from other day of sample will still stay for a suitable level for the cultured prawn. And as a conclusion for this result, we can see that all freshwater prawn was cultured for 4 months, starting from February to May, were harvested, and we can see that some photo showing this finding. And let us based on the discussion, so water quality is considered as a very crucial to the pond culture, and the DO level should be more than 5 ppm or 5 milligram per liter, and pond should be aerated. So I didn't mention that this is part of the community project, so that they not implement the pedal wheel for erosion. So we suggest that erosion must be applied and implemented within 24 hours a day if it being stocked with high stocking density. The pond pH is also something to be considered as a higher pH than 10 will cause mortality, all right, to the cultured pond. The most.
Excuse me, Dr. Noor.
Yes.
You have 10 minutes to explain.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Chairman. All right. So I would like to say that a pH then 10 and can cause mortality to the cultured prawn, while the temperature range between 29 to 35 is considered as an optimum for prawn growth, while above 35 considered not suitable for the growth. And other than that, salinity for this specific culture prawn, freshwater prawns, the salinity maximum salinity not suitable for up to 25 ppt. All right. So ammoniums in the range of ammonium, phosphate, and also nitrate throughout our study considered as a optimum and between the range of a safe level. And we can found that the rapid biofloc injection at pond 1 showed the lowest concentration ammonium, nitrate, and phosphate, which supported by Ray, that identified that the formations of biofloc helps in maintaining an nutrient level and lowers the concentration of ammonia. It might be due to heterotrophic bacteria function in the biofloc converts the ammonia and nitrate. So it can become a beneficial protein, which then suggested that and consumed back by the prawn proteinous supplemented as a proteinous supplemental diet. Before I make a conclusion, so we basically harvest about 200 kilogram of total productions achieved by cultured prawn in 4 months. This was proven by Aflalo, that cultures all male giant freshwater prawn rosamajai grow faster and have higher weight at harvest than female culture, which make them culture and all becomes more considerable. As a conclusion, the water quality condition may also fall within optimal range, as we must understand and figure out the most suitable condition for this prawn. And the nutrient level was also identified in most of the pond, especially in pond 4, which was applied with rapid BFTTM. And the application of pedal wheel also suggested is very important to be implemented due to lower dissolved oxygen in most pond, and the analysis of water quality and nutrient level is fundamental to be used or to be analyzed for better survival and growth in the species, in spite of promoting and sustainable and good aquaculture practice. Before I finish my presentation, I would like, if possible, I would like to share some video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya ingin memperkenalkan prototype yang telah dibangunkan oleh Institut Akuakultur Tropika dan Perikanan di bawah kumpulan saya, Green Farming Technology, yang dikenali sebagai Rapid BFD atau dikenali sebagai starter culture atau kultur pemula bagi ternakan udang ataupun aquaculture di Malaysia. Alright, apakah itu yang dinamakan sebagai rapid biofloc? Alright, so sebenarnya prototype ini dibangunkan di atas pemakanan di mana Dalam kolam peternakan sudah mengalami pelbagai penyakit dan disebabkan oleh kawalan kualiti air ataupun mutu kualiti air yang rendah. Jadi dengan pembentukan bioflok yang cepat atau pantas dengan bantuan bioflok, BFG akan mempercepatkan pertumbuhan bakteria dan juga mikroorganisma yang baik di dalam kita telah menggunakan ternakan ataupun aplikasi rapid bioflok ini ke atas ternakan udang mawin dan udang putih. Namun sehingga kini kita telah menyepakluaskan kepada ternakan yang lain, termasuklah udang galah, ikan catfish, ketam dan sebagainya. Bagi melindungi produk rapid bioflok ini, kami telah memfailkan dua jenis intellectual properties ataupun IP, iaitu pada tahun 2017 kami telah memfailkan patent di bawah tajuk Rapid Bioflok System for Shrimp Farming, dan pada tahun 2019 kami telah memfailkan satu lagi intellectual properties di bawah hak cipta terpelihara, iaitu copyright di bawah tajuk Rapid Bioflok for Aquaculture.
Anak udah galau ni, saya dia untung dalam segi makanan dia jimat, pembesaran dia cepat daripada udang putih ni. Udah galau, kalau dia bagi tengok sini dia tengok dengan umur 4 bulan tu dia boleh gitu sampai 40 ekor sekilo. Mana makanan baru habis, baru 5 beg baru.
Alhamdulillah, kami telah berjaya memperoleh pelbagai anugerah di peringkat universiti, kebangsaan maupun di luar negara. Pada tahun 2017, kami telah memperoleh Special Award di dalam pertandingan Minggu Penyidikan dan Inovasi UMT. Ini diikuti dengan pertandingan di peringkat kebangsaan, ITEX dan juga pencipta. Di peringkat antarabangsa pula, kami telah berjaya memperoleh pingat emas di Seoul Invention and Innovation Fair tahun 2017.
Thank you very much. Get back to you, Mr. Chairperson.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the interesting presentation and video. Congratulations for the awards.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the next session, discussion session. On the chat panel, we have several questions for Prof. Rajiv, and Prof. Rajiv already answered the questions. Or maybe Prof. Rajiv like to explain more about the answer directly. You're most welcome. Hello, Prof. Rajiv. Okay, the first question is from Ms. Arifanur. It's regarding on how to shorten the product development duration, which consists of complex steps due to the tight competition in food industry. And and Prof. Rajiv already answered the question. Have a well-defined new project development strategy, generate ideas and concept for new products, adopt the clear-headed methodology, ready access to automated testing, adopt appropriate software technology. In addition, have a business analysis of new products and market testing, followed by a tab on launching and commercializing new products. Maybe you would like to add more, Prof. Rajiv? No?
No, that was an interesting question actually, because nowadays everyone want to develop new product and just put it into the market within a short time. But actually, before just jumping into the final scenario, it's always necessary that a well-defined product development strategy should be there. Whether this new product is required in the market, you cannot just send in a fish meatball and say, okay, develop some meatball with some thing, and you cannot just put into the market. People will not buy it. So you have to see how best you can fasten your product development. Side by side, you also need to look into the commercializing of these products and how to get it in production. I have put my explanation over there. It's always good that you generate new ideas, new concept, especially on based on what I gave in my lecture: green processing technology, green techniques, natural preservatives. These are some of the key things consumers will be looking into in a new product, whether they are produced in an environmentally friendly manner. Of course, you cannot develop a new product within a matter of 10 days or 15 days or within 1 month. It will take time. But I understand from the students' point of view, they want to finish the research and a doctoral degree and they want to run away fast. But still, when the process is a long process, but it is possible if everything is available in hand for you, if the planning is there, technology is there, support is there, it can be done. Not an issue. That's the thing I want to tell to this Arifa who put up this question actually.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. So just keep doing it, just keep trying. Yeah, and then it'll be a success waiting for you, something like that, right? Okay. The next question is from Miss Jenny.
Yeah, because Jenny was asking about increased production, can it be sufficient or you want to go for other stuffs? But I put my answer there. It works in both the way actually. I'm not sure. I cannot see your question actually here. Okay, the question is there. She wanted to know my opinion whether it is possible to increase the fishery production up to what potential, or we just need to maintain the fish production. This is a tricky question actually to ask me, but still I have managed to produce some result for this question. It's there on your screen. There is an interesting article on this from the United Nations that also can be read, and you get more information on that.
All right, thank you so much, Prof. Rajiv. Can I have one more question from Prof. Rajiv? For Prof. Rajiv, I have one question. It's regarding, you explained about the SDGs, about the environmentally friendly technologies, that we have to produce a product and we produce zero waste. We have to valorize the byproduct. Maybe you can give us a suggestion or recommendation about the technology that, not to produce more pollution. If we use the byproducts, if we like do the value added of the byproduct, we still produce waste and pollution. Maybe you can have more recommendation or suggestion to overcome this problem. Maybe
to overcome this, because one thing I stress this, we need to understand waste is different and byproducts are different actually. When you're talking as a waste, it just as going as a waste into the system or as a landfill. It cannot be reused. But when you say a byproduct of a fishery industries, that can be reused, maybe like a fish scale or the fish bone. It can be reused, for example, gelatin can be produced from this. So it can be used for another application. That's where the circular economic concept comes into picture. The byproduct of one material is the raw material for the another product. In the fishery industry, for example, you have the fish, you remove the scales, you remove the bones, it goes as a byproduct. This byproduct is a raw material for the next industry. When you're developing like a gelatin-based packaging film or fish gelatin-based things, or maybe you're extracting oil from this skin or bone. So this is going as a raw material for the next industry. So what happens in a circular economic concept, everything is reused in the system. Nothing is going outside as a landfill or a waste. Of course, as I said, when you say waste, for example, you have some catch which is low cost, not used. So usually what happens after harvesting, they're just thrown into the sea, causing pollution. or in some cases, they just go as a landfilling causing pollution. So we also need to look into this, whether any value-added products can be obtained from this. Maybe as a wound dressing material, can we get some wound dressing material from this? Or can we develop some fabrics out of this waste? So these are some of the interesting fields that will come up in the future, actually.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm also working on the project on polarization of waste byproducts. But the problem is like if we like to produce gelatin from paste, we also have we also produce like more pollution. We like remove the solvents and we have to dump it into the environment. So something like that we have to think about for the next, so we don't create new pollution if we use the byproduct, something like that.
Yes, no, it is not, because it's all environmental friendly techniques, especially gelatin extraction. When you're talking about a project, it depends whether it is from freshwater or seawater fish, and what is the bloom strength, at what temperature you're trying to produce gelatin, what is the technique you're using. So everything matters. Because in this open platform, it's difficult for me to explain, but you can drop an email to me, or we can have a chat later on so that I can try to help you out how to be done.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for the information about the scholarship. I hope our junior lecturers can use that opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yes, there is a lot of funding available in European Union. You can just apply, contact your supervisor and try to get it. And it's easy, actually. It's not difficult, actually. There are even some fellowship, especially for doctor students, young researchers who can easily get through, actually.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
not competitive. It's not too competitive as we think, but it's easy to get. But of course, Prof. Madhya and professor level, it's very difficult to get above this level. They expect for you to have your own funding to come over. But for young researchers or PhD student, doctoral student, exchange students, it's very easy. A lot of fundings are available.
Okay, thank you so much.
For professor and Madhya professor level, someone at the same level have to support their visits, actually.
Okay. All right, thank you. We move to Dr. Nur Azman. There are 2 questions, I think. 3, sorry. From Ms. Dian, what is the special benefit of rapid bioflow for the stream productivity? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dian, for having this question. So first of all, thank you for your interest for your question. So I believe that most of us know about bioflow technology. So there is special session if you want to talk about bioflow technology. But now Ms. Dian asked me what is the specials or what is the novelty of the rapid BFT. Yeah, so there must be. So I would like to, I'm very proud to say that this product was already patented back in last year, 2021. So basically, we have developed this product and we're filing for the patent back in 2017. So now, what is the specialty of this product? So in particular, so normally to develop or to forming the biofloc, we need to maintain, or also we need to wait up to 30 days or onwards for the biofloc to be developed. All right, so 30 days or by that time for the 30 days or about a month. Okay, so for me there is a very time consuming, and if the farm or the pond already infected with a disease, for example, or even not yet clean enough, so that we can I think we need to do something to boost up the formations of biofloc. All right, so now the bioflocs can be developed earlier or speed up by having this inoculum. So the first important thing by having injections of the rapid bioflocs is to speed up the growth of biofloc. And of course, when we develop this forming the bioflocs earlier, so I can say that with using our product within 2 days, all right, the bioflocs already started to be formed. All right, so instead of 30 days, 2 days bioflocs or rapid bioflocs can help and boost up the growth of biofloc. So there is a massive or novel things about that. And after that, we believe that our trials show that using rapid biofloc, it can also increase, optimize, or optimize the water quality conditions within the ponds. And most importantly, I would say that this is very interesting for the most farmers to hear this, because for them to having the fastest profit as possible, all right, it will be very happy for them. Okay, so as a comparison, when we use the conventional or traditional method, using just feeding them with commercial pellets and also using probiotic, we can find that the higher or the bigger shrimp was yielded or was produced in our system as compared to others. All right, so there is then another thing is that importantly, they are also happy when they can harvest their product earlier than the other ponds, the traditional pond. So I said, for this giant freshwater pond, normally it will take up to 5 to 6 months. Or other hand, for Vaname, for white shrimp, it will will take up to 120 days. But using the bioflocs for shrimp farm, for prawn, we can harvest as early as 4 months, and while for Vaname, it can go up to 90 days. So I think we can reduce the cost of operation. That's the other thing. So but I can share with you, Miss Dian, we have found, and there is some findings. You may upload it and also Google browse through my research publications. We have tried this for other aquaculture operations like mud crab or kepiting, all right, and also other fishes. All right, so most recently we try on the jet perch. So I hope that will answer the question, Dr. Rahmi. Thank you.
Yep, I think so. Thank you so much. The next question is from Miss Jenny. She asked about whether this rapid bioflocs can give the same result if it's applied to the water with different quality condition.
All right. Okay. So we must understand that these products or this technology is basically is to prevent the infections or disease infections to the pond. So not after being infected with the disease, any disease. All right. So it's basically it depends on the culture system. All right, I will say that with a proper management, all right, we should implement these bioflocs at earlier stage of the production, not in the middle when the pond already infected with a disease or even having a poor water quality condition, because we worry that this biofloc technology cannot work out, because is what we call is a prevention is better than cure. So we because when we know how to develop biofloc, I believe it's easy for us to monitor and also giving a better results as compared to other approach. Okay, so I would say that if the water conditions is will giving a different results, so I would say that it depends. So but from our understanding and from our trial, we found that we can especially for ammonia and nitrate these two main nutrient at lower as possible as safe level. So because if we don't use any product like probiotic or even other product, so it's very hard for us to what we call to monitor or to control the water quality. So of course, other factors is about the water source that coming in that we use for our culture. Okay, so that is a different story. But we need to make sure that the water source must be treated earlier before we use up. So I would like to say that this rapid biofloc or even biofloc technology itself, we need to implement at earlier or at beginning of the culture period. Okay, so I hope that this water throughout the culture condition, bioflocs operation might provide or resulted a very good water quality condition and also nutrient. Thank you very much. And is it possible for me to just read and answer the question?
Yes, yes, you may. Thank you.
So from Mr. Iwan, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, thank you, Iwan, for having showing the interest in our study. But yes, I will say what happened with DO during my research time. Why do DO dissolve oxygen very low? Yes, as I mentioned earlier, because this is partly of a community program, and they haven't got the paddle wheel because initially the pond was used for raising up the fish, which is a barramundi or sea bass. All right, so the DO normally depends on the what we call overflow. All right, but not to the shrimp or prawn, because and especially when we implement the biofloc is consists of, I said consists of microorganisms, not just only bacteria. So they are respiratory, so also they are consuming dissolved oxygen. So dissolve oxygen, so for them to respirate. So yes, that is our main constraint for our project. That's why that one is the main factor that because we receive some funding but not for asset. So that's why we cannot buy the paddle wheel for them. All right, so that is something that we a bit disappointed. So yeah, because we cannot handle them as regard to this physical factor. All right, so that is also the other factors lah. Okay, so other than that, the other thing is not just only the O very low, but also the management wise, because when we deal with villagers or the farmers which is not familiarized with giant freshwater prawn, somehow we need to frequently monitor. All right, actually we went there every week. So the distance between UMT and Besos is about 2 hours driving. So normally we closely contact, and I would say that mishandling as well, because we found a big mud crab was found in that pond. So that pond become their what we call beds, also the food source for that mud crab. So that is another thing. So I'm not saying that only the O as but they're contributing the factor. I hope that I answer your question, Mr. Ikhwan. All right, and from I guess also from Miss Tutik. All right, how different of shrimp nutrient due to with and without the rapid biofloc? Okay, I would say for this from my presentation just now, we can say that we can see that there is not a big difference between all ponds, because first thing, the pond is big enough, because the stocking where we stock the prawn, the seed is very low. We just put about 15 PL per meter cube. It's not too high, because we know that the DO might be fluctuated. All right, so but I would like to happy to share with you that in other study we found that with bioflocs bioflocs, we found that there is a good result, better result, and low nutrient content, especially nitrate and ammonia in when we use rapid biofloc. All right, because interestingly, when we implement the biofloc, the microbials inside the biofloc composition in the biofloc will basically in a very common name we call it as a eating the nutrient, because that nutrient is the food source for the microbes or biofloc microbes to grow. All right, so that is partly of the main role of bioflocs microbes to eat or to reduce the nutrient content or nutrient concentration in the grow out water. All right, so I hope that I'll also answer your question, Mrs. Madam Tutik. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Rami.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Noor. Have you applied? Sorry, have you applied the product for marine culture?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
our first trial, actually, we from that rapid biofloc, we initially subculture or extracted from or isolate from what we call white Pacific white leg shrimp, or we call it as a waname. So it is a marine shrimp. So we collected from that water. And also actually we initially we was try for the first time use on the what we call marine shrimp or valame, udang putih kalau di sini, ya. Alright, so and also we try for a few species. Actually we work very closely with industrial, because somehow they are facing a problem, so that they want to use this biofloc. And actually of course we are also we will focus on the marine shrimp as compared to this microbiome Rosenbergi. But it's not just limited to marine shrimp, but also on the freshwater organism. That's why. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, before we come to the end of the session, maybe Prof. Rajiv or Dr. Noor have a closing statement for the audience, or already enough, or no more?
Me first, or I'm first, or Prof. Rajiv?
Rajiv?
Prof. Rajiv?
Oh, it's not available. Maybe Dr. Noor?
Okay. First of last but not least, maybe lah, because I hope that is not the last for me to be with you all. And personally I would like to appreciate and also say thank you to the Secretariat of ICoFMR, all right, 2022, especially my friend Dr. Aulia, who contacted me personally. All right, and because when she approached me for the first time I supposed to give talk tomorrow on 6th, but because tomorrow I have another program, and she did ask me and also rearrange for today, and that's why I'm very happy, and I'm very appreciate for all of the committee, and hopefully on all the participant, please do not hesitate to contact me through my you can contact me through my phone number. Dr. Aule know my number, or else you may email me directly using norazman@umt.edu.my. And thank you very much, Dr. Rami, for your consideration. Thank you very much, and hope to see you again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noor. Prof. Rajiv, maybe we have a closing statement to say. You're busy in the laboratory, I think.
I was busy, sorry. You want to take a picture or something there?
Oh, the closing statement. Do you have any closing statement for the audience?
Okay. Yeah, I gave my statement before also after my talk. But actually this webinar is very well organized actually. I'm happy about the theme. Especially selecting a theme for this webinar or the seminar is very important. So the theme is like really the hot topic which is happening in the world now. Selection of speakers were good. I understand there is a lot of efforts from the organizer sides. It takes a lot of effort to put this type of seminars and conferences or webinar at the international forum. I appreciate all the efforts of you people. Of course, you're always welcome, as I said, to visit my lab, or when you come to Europe, just visit me even for personal visit also. I'm there to help you out. For young researchers and students, I have dropped my email, contact me. Thank you organizers for considering me and my expertise to give or deliver a talk. Usually I don't touch with all the results parts in my talk. I don't go in depth into the results part, but of course, all my publications are available in online, or if you want to see anything or discuss anything, I'm always available for you. It was nice to interact with you, all you guys for the first time, I suppose, and hopefully we'll be in touch. And that's all I can say from myself. Very well organized theme and conference. All the best and congratulations.
Okay, thank you so much. Me myself, Rahmi Nudiani, and also the committee would like to thank to the speakers for the interesting presentation. Also for the audience for your active participation. Hopefully all the presentation will be beneficial for everyone. So we end this session. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Bu Rahmi.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Nur.
Terima kasih.
Thanks to Dr. Rahmi Nudiani and the speakers.
Thank you for excellent presentation and discussion so that we can get a lot of provision to be applied in everyday life. Big thanks to the speakers, moderators, and participants who have attended the event from beginning to the end.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the end of this international conference. We are apologize for any inconvenience. Thank you for attending and your kind attention. I'm Najwa.
I'm Ray. See you tomorrow.
On Thursday, 6 October 2020, and
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Universitas Brawijaya was established by the President of the Republic of Indonesia on July 11, 1961. This name is derived from the title of King of Majapahit, a great kingdom in Indonesia from 12th to 15th centuries. Universitas Brawijaya transformed into a state university on January 5, 1963, following a presidential decree issued earlier in the same year. There are 4 campuses that UB possesses. 2 of them are located in Malang at Veteran and Dieng, then the rest are in Kediri in Jakarta. The main campus is located in the western part of Malang City with a total area of 60 hectares. It's a very strategic location and it has a great